Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? um, Hello, Diana. Good evening, Joe. Nice to see you guys. Well, I always say that. It's nice to have you on here, and I actually imagine that we are all together, just with the limitations of technology, that it's not quite the same as if we were actually in the same place. But I imagine that. And when I'm talking to you and when I'm reading what you wrote to me, I always feel like there with you, or that we're there, and we're real, and yeah, and that I have the honor of being in your company, and so that's what it feels like to me. I Your words give me a feel for who you are, and all kinds of other warm feelings. So I feel like you're all here with me, um, even though we're not able to be in the same room, but I feel like we are. So we'll go with that. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Whatever it is to you, I sometimes try to make people feel better by talking about the Hallmark holiday thing. Um, I try to often, yeah, just make it easier, talk about that. But for the reality is, for so many of us, it's so ingrained what our holidays are. And if they're Hallmark holidays, if they're, marketing holidays, if they're whatever they are, they have a feel, right? And so when I sent out this email, I got all my feelers because I want to, I mean, Valentine's Day has feelings with it. I mean, all the holidays do, but there is something about a day that has specifically been targeted to make you think about your singleness. That just, it just has feelings with that. It has feelings when you're in the office and you see the bouquets of flowers and chocolates, traipsing through with the various delivery people, or however it's done. But I just remember, like, so many single Valentine's days when it was like, oh, am I going to time it right? Is there actually going to be someone, significant in my life for this Valentine's Day? And I'll get to be one of the ones who has flowers brought to me, and then there was the time my mom sent me flowers, which was so sweet. She didn't know if I was going to get any flowers. And so she, yeah, Single Awareness Day. I love that. That's, I mean, I don't love it, but that's the reality of what it feels like, right? Yeah, and that was, my mom sent me those flowers, and it was just, I didn't know. I mean, it was sweet of her, but it almost made me more embarrassed when everyone was like, well, oh, you got flowers too. It's like, yeah, my mom said that, and it was really sweet, but inside it was just, everyone else had flowers from their significant other. So yeah, it's the day that unfortunately, you, depending on how you look at it, it feels very much like your status is on display. And so that's why I thought, well, what can I do to alleviate some of that? And I thought, well, let's do a live here. I wasn't planning on doing one so soon, but I thought, let's do that because I have my day. I've got my flowers, and I've got my I've had my, I mean, yeah, every day when you have someone and you have a family and everything, you're not alone. And so I thought, well, what can we do today to make it a special day? So this is perfect. I know if anyone's joining us from Australia, you're the day after Valentine's Day. So you're in the day after. You've already had this. So hopefully tuning in will give you some of the same feels and the day after. But I think for everyone else, I think we're in the middle of the night in the UK and Europe and different parts of Africa. So we're late. If I catch any of you, you've already had yours. But for the rest of us who are in the here and now, either on the West Coast, East Coast, Central, somewhere around there, you're still in the throes of celebrating Valentine's Day. So hopefully I've caught enough of you to be here that you're going to benefit from being here and just knowing you're not alone and that you're here with everybody else. Yeah, because it's really, really nice to know you're not alone. I mean, I think that was always helpful to me to know you're not alone. If you want to say where you are from, I'd love to see where we are going, where you're taking me today. I love you take me all around the world. I love it. I get like I said on one of my previous ones, traveling and the subject of social studies and geography have always been my favorite things. I love knowing where you are. So if you want to say where you are. Hello, Diana and Audrey and Holly and Colette and Kylie and Colette again there. Oh, awesome. I love, yeah, different countries. And, Canada's my native land, where I hail from. And Audrey is in Miami. Oh, you got to be nice and warm there. That sounds really nice. I've been there once. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Anyway, that's fine. You participate as much as you want to or not. I'm fine if you just want to look in on here and just be part of us or if you want to chat more. I do try and check the chat. So if I don't get to something, or if you want to add to it, or if you didn't have a chance to write in with a question, I'll try at the end to go through the chat and get to you as well. Hi, Diana from Ohio. I was just talking to yesterday my sister-in-law, my husband's. We did a Zoom call with his two sisters. He has a sister in Ohio. And he has a sister over in Pennsylvania or New Jersey now. So anyway, we were just talking about Ohio there. All right. Well, I'm going to jump in here because I've got a lot. I want to get to as many of these as I can. I just want to give you some love today. I want to just give you some warm, fuzzy feelings. I want to give you a relief, a break from the single awareness day that Colette summed up for us. I want you to be able to just put that on hold, put the feelings of that on hold, and just feel loved. I want you to feel loved. I want you to feel that's my goal, to pass on some love. Took me a long time to feel loved, and I want to pass that along to you so you can feel some love too. It doesn't matter who you get your love from. It doesn't matter who loves you. It just matters that you feel loved by someone. Okay. So that's me tonight. All right. Jessica wrote to me. And Jessica, if you are here, or if you are in a different time zone and are not able to make it, and I'll see you on the replay, I'm thinking of you, Jessica, and I am sending you so much love and warm, fuzzy feelings, and I just want you to know you're not alone, okay? Jessica is a single mom. She's got her boys, and she is thinking about her ex. And today makes her think about him and wonder if he's alone, right? I mean, how common is this, right? The holidays. Okay, this is bringing me back because the only thing worse than being alone was imagining the guy who you wanted to be with, or you were trying to get over, or you were thinking about not being alone. That is the only thing worse. And I'm sure that resonates with a lot of you. Yeah. So thinking about wondering if he's alone. What is he doing? Now, Jessica writes that she can't bear the thought of him spending this day with someone else. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a really hard one. That is a really hard one. Thinking about him with someone else. It still hurts. I never thought I would be alone. Each holiday is a painful reminder. She made it through Christmas and New Year's without him. But here we are. Valentine's Day comes back. One day, hopefully, things will change. And I do know things will change. I do know that. I do absolutely know things have a way. Things change. It's not just they change for the worse. They change in general. And so she's excited to be here. It gives her something to look forward to. I'm so glad, Jessica. So, Jessica, I want to tell you the holidays are tough. I think we can all attest to that, what we've talked about already. It's hard when you never think you would be alone. It's hard when you thought everything was going along, everything was fine, and you got used to it and you had a comfort zone. So that's hard to go through that. Kudos to you for making it through the Christmas and New Year. That holiday season is tough. You made it through there. I want to say this to you, okay? So your ex, I don't know what happened. I don't need to know what happened there. I just know you're missing him. And I just want you to know that there are no guarantees with love in general. And so obviously you found that out, and that is very, very painful. But I want to tell you that for now, for in this season, you making the best of it in a family way, just you and your boys, is a precious time. And I know that doesn't really help the pain, lessen the pain of what you're feeling about not having a partner there with you and not having someone who is obviously special and who you loved there with you. And it especially sounds like it was a surprise to you. But I guess what I want to say to you, think of it in terms of seasons. This is a season right now of your life. And right now, this is a hard season and it's painful, but there's some joys here too. And there's some joys that you're here with your boys and you're able to have a special relationship with them. And I'm not sure how old they are, but you're able to give them love right now. And for right now, this is a season that will pass. This is a place where we learn and we grow and we recognize things that are really important to us and we recognize what matters. And I'm sure your boys become a little more precious to you and you become a little more raw and a little more aware of just the fragility of life and the fragility and the temporariness of what can seem like it's just always going to be this way. And then poof, it changes. And so that will be the same with this. Things change. And there is no way of knowing what the future holds. And so if it can be as sad or as negative as we can tend to feel it might be, or hopeless as we can tend to make it, it can also be every bit as positive. It can be every bit as promising. It can be every bit as hopeful because we don't know. All we know is we're in seasons. There's different seasons of life. And whether you're with someone in their seasons or whether you're alone, whatever your situation is, there are seasons of life, and this is one of them. And so what I would say to you is take this beautiful enthusiasm you have for life and for love and being able to love someone so much that you still miss him. That is a testament to your ability to love and to feel love and to engage in love. And at some point, there is going to be someone who sees you and recognizes that love in you. And it is going to be the most beautiful thing that he has ever seen. And he is going to be so lucky to have some of that love. So at some point, that will be your norm. That will be what you will see again. Okay? The sun is going to shine and love is going to be there. And you just proved that you have the ability to love and to stay loving, even when your heart could become hardened, even when you could give up. There's so many women who do that as a defense mechanism, and you have kept that love. So treasure that, cherish that. Don't make light of that. That is a beautiful thing to be able to stay soft. Yeah, it's painful. It hurts to be, it would be easier not to feel, right? In so many ways, not especially on days like this, it'd be easier not to feel. But that feeling part of you is beautiful, and it keeps you here, and it keeps you loving and giving and caring, and it keeps you open to getting that back with someone, even better, with someone who is going to love you and see you for you in ways that you will never have to worry about them leaving you again. All right. Okay, Jessica. Happy Valentine's Day. Much love to you. All right, Tatiana. Tatiana is writing today. Tatiana, I'm not sure if you're able to make it. I think you might be. There might be another Tatiana. There's some Tatiana in Australia. I'm not sure if that's you or not. But if you're here or if you catch this on the replay, happy Valentine's Day to you. Happy Love Day to you. And I hope you feel the love here and that I am sending your way. Tatiana is feeling sad. And sadness on holidays and sadness on today is you're not alone. Normal to feel that way. And I think we all feel a little bit of that with you, for you, and with you. She writes that she feels sad because Valentine's Day is tomorrow. She wrote this to me yesterday, which is a very special date to me. And this Valentine's Day, 2022, I don't have a significant other. I'm hoping that myself and other ladies could get a confidence boost for our self-esteem. Okay, Tatiana, I got a confidence boost for you here, okay? I want to tell you that this confidence thing, okay? The self-esteem thing, you don't get it from finding someone to give it to you, okay? You receive it by being open to the fact that you have all the love and all the confidence and all the self-esteem you're ever going to need right there within you, okay? What you find is you meet people as you go about your life who have the capacity and the ability to see you for who you are, for everything you are. And so when we think of this idea that we need someone, or we feel so much better when we're in a relationship, I mean, who doesn't, right? I mean, we all feel better when we're in a relationship. We glow, we shine. There was a woman who wrote me an email that I shared her story with everybody on a letter, on a Friday letter. And it was, she wrote, her words were, I was beautiful for 3 months. And I think those of you who follow along on the blog will probably remember that. She was beautiful for 3 months were her words. That was her title. That was her subject line. And she went on to tell the story of how she felt so beautiful because she was in a relationship, because someone saw her. And there is nothing that is so just tender and just so heart-wrenching as talking to you when you tell me these stories of how you were seen for whatever amount of time it was. But while you were with this guy, you felt seen, you felt loved, you felt celebrated, you felt beautiful, in essence, just like she said, because someone saw you and recognized you, was capable of seeing you, and all this beauty of that is the confidence and the being seen like that. And then what happens is when we lose that, it's gone. It's gone. So either we lose it and we're still in a relationship because the person we're with doesn't see us anymore, and we no longer mean anything to him. So we're in a relationship, which is the absolute worst kind of loneliness, and does the absolute worst thing to our confidence and our self-esteem, because we're actually with someone and they could see us and they don't. So it's worse than being alone. And those of you who've been there know that. So you're either not being seen in a relationship anymore, or this person is gone and you're not in a relationship and you're alone, and it feels so lonely not to have someone see you. And so it feels like you're going to be alone forever, or you're going to, we go to that thinking. Anyway, what I want to say is, you have all that self-esteem, all that confidence and everything inside you. And just like the woman who wrote about being beautiful for only a short amount of time while she was with someone, and those of you who tell me about how you feel with that when you're no longer with someone, it is the way that we fix that. The antidote for that is that we find someone who can see us. And who can see us? I mean, there's so many versions of people who can see us. The whole place where our self-esteem comes from, it comes from inside when we meet the people who can see us, who have the capacity, who have the ability to see us, where their own ego or their own filter, their own stuff, their own issues don't cloud that. There are people who will need to take that light that they see in you, and they will need to bring it down to size. They will need to knock your confidence down. They will need to knock your self-esteem down, because they won't be able to see that light in you without it reflecting back like a mirror to them. Okay? And so they will need to bring you down, and in order for them to feel better about themselves. I mean, this is the classic thing, that starts early with when you go through what you go through in school. And we there's people who cannot look at themselves to see that they have things they need to work on. And instead they want to take someone who is light and love, and they want to bring that person down so that they don't have to see themselves reflected through eyes like that, through a mirror of that kind of a heart that you bring. And so it is much easier for them to tear you down rather than build themselves up and find happiness on their own. Okay? And so your job is simply to know the difference between the two, to know that there are people who can't love you, can't see you, can't tolerate you, can't be with you. They are never going to be your people, and they will always bring you down. Okay? And then there are the people who see you. And so that comes in the form of friends. It comes in the form of the right family members, not all, but the right ones. That comes in the form of people that you meet, strangers whose paths cross with yours, and eventually, hopefully in the form of a special someone who can actually see you. But what you're talking about is something you already have. Everything right in there, right within you. It's finding people who are capable of seeing that in you, who celebrate that, who love that in you, who are excited to see that. And it doesn't matter who that comes from right now. If that comes from anyone in your life, bask in it, enjoy it, feel the warmth of it, feel the love there. It doesn't have to be a guy, a man, a significant partner yet. Enjoy it for wherever it comes, wherever you get it from. And remember that piece of love we often overlook, because we've had this ingrained, we've had this just, programmed so much, it's been so conditioned in us that the only place that we can get that feeling of worthiness is by showing up with a man in our society that gauges our worth, that rates our worth, that tells us we're worthy if we have something that looks just like everyone else. So in the meantime, there is that place of getting it from other places, from friends, from people who love you, and allowing them to reflect back to you the love that you give, so that you can feel that confidence, that boost to your self-esteem, knowing it's right here. There, it's just finding the right people to reflect it back to you. And if you are with someone who does not have that, who cannot give you that, then it is better in so many cases to be putting your energy and your effort into finding those people outside of that relationship, to feel that safety and feel that warmth and feel that love with, rather than putting all those expectations on one single person who was never meant to be some kind of a superman or godlike figure, that person could take the responsibility for all your happiness and all of your confidence on himself. Far better is it to allow him to be who he is, and for you to get your cup filled from other places, so that all of that doesn't reside solely on a mere mortal human being. All right, Tatiana, I hope that helps a little bit. Happy Valentine's Day to you. I am sending you so much love, and I hope you feel all that coming through the technology waves to you. Take care. Thanks for being here. All right. Kelly. I think there's 2 or 3 Kellys who wrote into me. So Kelly, if you are here, happy Valentine's Day to you. And, or if you get this after the replay, you'll get it then. But I do have something to say to you. Kelly wrote to me that the guy that she's been dating for 3.5 months just told her today, which was yesterday, that he feels like things have plateaued. He feels like something is missing in the relationship, and he doesn't feel the same excitement with me like he did in the beginning. So this completely caught her off guard. She said it completely caught her off guard, and she's feeling super hurt, and she's feeling made a fool of. How did I not see this? Oh, Kelly. So do not add insult to injury here. Do not make this so much worse by asking yourself, how did I not see this? There will be time for reflection. There will be time for that. But girl, right now, I mean, wow, this just happened. And that's 3.5 months of dating this guy. Yeah. So you can figure out what the red flags were, what happened later. But for right now, don't beat yourself up here. Okay. Don't be so hard on yourself at all. It happened. And I'm sorry it happened. And the day before Valentine's Day is really, really hard. And that's awful. I don't want you to feel like you've been made a fool. And I don't want you to feel, you can feel hurt. That's yours, to feel hurt. And you can feel whatever else you feel. But the part where we feel the shame of we should have known better, or that we have to answer to someone because we should have known better, that's really hard. Because, you know, some of us do the opposite. We're looking for everything early on and we miss a relationship. You know, some of us, there's somewhere in the middle, or some of us do the other extreme, and we just, it's really hard to know when you're in it in those beginning months. I mean, I want to validate that. I want to take the stigma out of there that you somehow have to know, or you have to account for. How didn't you know? You know, how are you, how are you such the fool that you didn't know? I want to take that out of that. That is not helpful. And it's not conducive to learning anything here from it, because it stunts your growth. It stunts you from learning, because all you can feel is this embarrassment and the shame of, I should have known better. Well, no, you shouldn't have known better, because you did the best you could with what you knew at the time. And this is where you were. Okay. And you were probably in those 3.5 months in the newness of the relationship. You're probably enjoying this relationship and enjoying what you thought seemed to be like the relationship that you thought it was. So don't do that to yourself. Don't put that on yourself here. Yeah, feel what you're feeling, but do not take this on you, because when someone breaks up with you with this kind of an explanation, because I mean, this is so typical. I hear this all the time from you, from the words of the guys that you're with, the men who say, I feel like things have plateaued. I'm not feeling it. I'm not. Well, what are they expecting to feel? What are they expecting to feel? I mean, we don't ask them that. Or if we do, it's like, I mean, we don't, because we're scared to. We don't want to know the answer. We don't want to know, oh, he doesn't find me attractive anymore. I'm not, he's not attracted to me. There's something wrong with me. I mean, some of you brave souls will ask for feedback. You're braver than I am. I never, ever asked for feedback. I didn't want it. Ever. I didn't want feedback. So, I mean, the fact that you're, yeah, I wouldn't be asking for that feedback either. So when someone says they don't feel the excitement with you, that's going to feel awful to know that you're going to feel that so personally. I mean, how do you not? Yeah. So anyway, what I want to say about that, men are programmed to see a relationship as being something that just fills all their fantasies. I mean, for men see this as all they got to do is find the right woman. They don't have to put any work into it. They don't have to do anything. All they have to do, this is their programming. I mean, there's a lot of more evolved men who've woken up from that, and that's refreshing and awesome. And I've met a lot of them, and I know what that's like. So it's possible. But generally speaking, men have to come to that because their programming tells them, it gives them the pass. It gives them the buy that all they need to do is find the right woman, and everything will be perfect. Everything. All they need to do is find the right woman. So with that kind of programming, what I want to clarify for you here, Kelly, is with that kind of programming, if a guy hasn't gone deeper than that, he is going to bump up against that 3-4 month mark. I've written extensively about this. If you want to find, there's a post, and I think I did a video too, but it's all about that 3-4 month mark, how there is something about that a guy will be able to show you who he is for around that time frame. And after that, it's not sustainable. So whatever you've been getting for that 3-4 months, usually that is where, almost always, if things are going to go bad, that you'll get some sign there. Something happens around that time, because that's as long as he can sustain who he actually is. Okay. Before you get to see the real him coming out. And so usually somewhere around that time, he will start putting this on you, that there is something that you are doing wrong. If he finds himself dealing with uncomfortable feelings, and he finds himself dealing with discomfort around the fact that he's in a real relationship, and it means responsibility now, or it means there's something more expected of him, or he's got you hooked, you're into him. And so now it falls to him. He's got to do something. He's got to actually be in a relationship with you. And that can be like, the excitement of that replaced with, okay, I've led her on, or I've got her this far. And now she's really into me. The conquest is over. I'm not as into her, because the thrill of the chase is not there like it used to be. So this is all his stuff that he needs to look right in the face and come face to face with, and recognize there's some growth here for me. There's something I need to do if I'm uncomfortable here. And the easiest way is to not do it. The easiest thing is to tell you there's something wrong with you and to opt out. So that's what you've got. That's what happened here. And so this is not about you, and I don't want you to take it personally. If things have plateaued for him, okay, that's his prerogative. And if he feels like something is missing in the relationship and he doesn't feel the same excitement with you, well, this is the reality. You can only chase someone for so long before it becomes comfortable, before it gets to the point where, you don't have to keep chasing. You can actually know, hey, I was enough that this person who I've been chasing, she fell for me, and that's supposed to be a good thing in a real relationship, where someone is, grounded in reality and not just looking for the chase and the conquest. So what you got here is a guy who probably doesn't get past this stage very often, if ever, because he gets stuck in, find the perfect woman, and everything will be great. You don't have to work on it. You don't have to do anything. It comes easy. All these things that we're told, and men especially, they're told this. So he obviously came to that, and he's good. He doesn't want to do any more work here. Doesn't want to look within. He doesn't want to look at why his relationships haven't gone beyond this 3 to 4 months. He's happy to tell you that. So basically, Kelly, this is what you lost. You lost a guy who is just in this for the chase, is just in this for the conquest, and to feel good about knowing he could get you. And now he's ready to move on. And so now you can feel not so good knowing that, that's what you were. And that's not his concern, because he doesn't feel the same excitement with you like he did in the beginning. Yeah. Well, yeah, no kidding. When you stop chasing someone because you actually have them, you're not going to feel like you did in the chase, right? Adrenaline and all that stuff. So welcome kind of to the real world of real relationships. So you found out he's not able to sustain a real relationship, and you found out early enough that even though it's painful, you found it out, and you can move on from there. I know it's not easy. You're feeling hurt. Feel the hurt. Do not feel the fool. Okay? Do not feel the fool. This is how we find out who someone is. This is how we find out if they're ready for more, and you found that out. All right? So, how did you not see this? We'll talk more about that later. There's always some red flags. There's always things. But believe me, I missed all of them until I'd been through it enough times and learned enough from it to recognize what those red flags were. And in fact, there are some red flags I never even recognized ever until years down the road when I'm coaching my clients, and I'm finding out from you red flags that I never thought of at the time. So you've taught me even more than just my own experiences with myself and my friends. So, yeah. So a lot of these red flags, we learn them almost always the hard way, because if someone tells us what the red flag is, it's really hard to believe that that didn't just apply to them and not to us. So, yeah. So we'll don't get stuck in, how did I not see this? I was made a fool of. Stay with the hurt. If you felt hurt, I mean, whatever you're feeling, feel all of those feelings. You know, it hurts to lose someone. It hurts to have the death of a dream. You know, you had this idea of what it's going to be, and for 3.5 months, you probably were going along thinking that's where we're going to get to. You know, you've got the dream, you've got the hope, you've got the, you know, the plans you made, and the thoughts in your own mind of where you thought it was going. So there's more to just grieve here than just the loss of a guy. You're grieving the loss of dreams, and that's the reality here. And that's harder than the guy himself. It's one thing to look at the guy, but it's another to look at, I invested 3.5 months with this guy, and I had dreams and plans, and it wasn't supposed to look like this. And that's all stuff that is to do with you, that involves grieving that and getting over that for yourself. Those are not things that he had. If we were to talk to him, because I've talked to men who, after the fact, you know, I've gone back and I've actually talked to them and found out what they were thinking or what was going through their mind, and wow, totally not the same thing we thought that they were thinking. Totally not the assumptions that we were making about where they were at. And even if their words said something, their mind, you know, was somewhere else. So yeah, feel all of your feelings, but do not take the being made a fool of peace, or the shame, or the guilt, or the, you know, of what you could have done, or the embarrassment. Don't do that. Don't put that on yourself. It's enough just to grieve the loss of a relationship that you thought was going to be so much more than the loss of those dreams that went along with it. All right. I'm sending you so much love today. Okay, this has got to be extra hard, because I'm sure you had plans for Valentine's Day in your mind, you know, and you thought you guys were going to do things together. I mean, you had a guy for 3.5 months this time, and you thought you were going to be together. So anyway, Kelly, much love to you. All right, and I'm glad you're here. I hope this helps being here. If you're watching the replay later tonight, I hope it helps. All right, take care. All right, Marie. All right, I heard from Marie, and Marie answered my questions I asked her. I asked everyone, if you're spending Valentine's Day alone this year, what it feels like, what you're going through. So Marie wrote to me that she's going to be alone this Valentine's Day. So I'm glad you're here, Marie, joining us. And she recently broke up with her second boyfriend after almost 7 years. Marie is, she's letting us know she's 35. She's not into holidays, but she's into creating long-lasting and joyful memories, regardless of how good or bad the day looks like. What a great way to think of things. So a bouquet of roses, a special dinner, chocolates in this season don't matter to me. I look for the things that are real, in real life, a person in the moment we share. And no, you're not being selfish or mean when you say that. You're being real. And that's actually, you're able to, you know, see the things that matter right behind the roses. So roses, chocolate, special dinner, they're not as, it's things behind that you're looking for. And I get that. You want the backup, you want the actual actions, not just the things that are easy to do. So Marie says she was feeling sad this past Friday. So that would have been a few days ago. So she's been feeling sad. She noticed she feels like this from time to time, and it makes her wonder if he feels the same way. Oh, this is good. Yes. You know what? Those melancholy moments, if you were with someone and you guys were really on the same wavelength during the time you were with him, when you feel things, there is something that he is feeling. And it may not be the same thing, but there is something of a melancholy feeling that he is feeling too. And if you guys were in sync for the time that you were together, there is something there for you. I have seen that proven more times than not, personally, and then you guys have all shown me and given me examples of all those things. Eerily so, you know, more than coincidence in a lot of cases. So yeah, there's something there. He's feeling that too. And yeah, in the season, she writes that when families and couples tend to be closer than other days and show their love to each other, she feels really sad. Yeah, and it's actually a painful thing. You're going to feel it when you are sensitive, when you feel things so deeply with your heart, your whole body's involved. I mean, if you wonder like why you have, like your stomach aches or headaches or things like that, I mean, these things are all connected, or heavy feeling in your chest, or your heart feels heavy. I mean, all of these, when you're a sensitive person, you're not just turning off health stuff. I mean, they're all interconnected. And so what you feel emotionally, you're going to feel physically. I mean, my famous thing was every single time that I went through a breakup, I was absolutely sick to my stomach. I was throwing up. I couldn't keep food down. It was awful. I lost so much weight. I felt just, I couldn't eat. I was just, yeah. So whenever I talk to someone going through a breakup, one of the things I talk about doing, or just feeling this way, you just feeling sad. But I say, drink your calories, put everything together in a blender and blend up the food that you can't keep down or you can't stomach, or just, you have such a hard time just chewing, and just down it, just drink it. Like I said, the smoothies saved my life more than one occasion, because yeah, I remember sitting at my desk at work and just not being able to eat anything, and just feeling just absolutely sick to my stomach. I mean, I worked with a couple of guys, which was not good, who were the cause of the breakup. So that might have been part of the reason why I wasn't able to keep any food down at work, because it's the very place where I had to see them, which of course, for those of you who have been in working relationship, I know there's at least one person on here who's been in that situation. So if that's happened to you, I mean, it's like, yeah, you're not going to feel able to function with anything, emotionally it's bad enough, but physically you're going to have real symptoms there when you've got to work with someone, let alone when you're just going through a breakup, and you're actually able to, have some kind of a reprieve at work where you don't have to see them. But if you have to see them, whew, that's really hard. So to make use of smoothies, if you find you can't eat because you are sick over a guy, don't let him bring you down like that. Just, yeah. Anyway, I always give that as advice because I went through that myself on there. So Marie left a toxic relationship last May, and it still hurts. I've been able to focus on myself. I've made a lot of changes, personal and professional. I've taken back my power, so I feel in control. And thanks for the update. I'm really glad to hear that, because I know I talked to you before that, I think. But I'm still hurting. Why am I hurting? Why? When it was so easy for him to meet another woman a couple of months later and be intimate with her. I know, because he showed up in my place out of nowhere. He said a few things, but nothing that could help the relationship. So before he left, I asked if he'd met someone, and he responded. He did not see a tear come down my cheek, but when I got home, I was broken. Of course you were. Oh my gosh, that is so hard. So hard. You gave and you gave. I don't want to think about him or the good that he gave me. I just want to let him go. Yeah, understandable. I think everyone who's been through a breakup, Marie, feels that, and feels that with you. Okay, so Marie, your question comes down to, or what it sounds like the gist of it comes down to, how do you cope with betrayal? He's moved on to someone else. How do I move on when my heart isn't fully connected with my mind? Why can't I just dump him completely out of my life? Okay. So, you know what? This is hard, but the way you cope with this is by accepting what is. So we're so much the feelers, okay? Everything is so much how it feels. It is so hard to come off of that place of how everything feels. So what I'm going to encourage you to do, and what I'm going to walk you through on this, is really, you got to bring the practical side in here. And I get it. It's like your heart and your head and trying to get the two together. So our heart loves and loves and loves and misses and feels things so deeply, and goes to the potential and goes to the feeling of what it feels like that he is with someone else. I mean, there is nothing worse than someone being with someone else. There's just nothing worse than that. It feels, it has a special kind of feeling, and not in a good way, because in addition to the questions we have of why wasn't I enough? It's, well, why is she enough? Why is someone else enough? How can this guy? Because it's one thing for us to talk about all the issues a guy has, right? It's one thing for us to talk about all of his stuff and why he isn't the right guy and how he's got commitment issues and why he's got all these things. But to see him go off and actually be with someone else and be capable of being with someone else, let alone for some of you who I know have seen this guy marry someone else, right? He's got everything that you wanted. And I mean, there's just, that hits us so hard because it's no longer just about being able to badmouth him or call him names or to talk about him, you know, with our friends over and over and have to make us feel better, reminding us all the things he wasn't. But the guy's actually moved on with someone else. I mean, that is just the worst. So I want to acknowledge that feeling of betrayal, that he's with someone else, that he's moved on with someone else and he's intimate with someone else. I mean, that there is no way to soften that blow. I mean, that feels awful. So acknowledge that, acknowledge the awfulness of it, and acknowledge the validity of your feelings and why it feels so much worse, because it does feel that bad. It does feel that much worse. It's horrible. So yeah, remind, you know, just come back to that piece. Validate, you know, how you're feeling. Allow yourself to feel that it is that bad. It does feel that bad. And then bring in here the reality and the practical piece, because this is the piece that we need to be able to deal with this, to be able to get over this. It's gradually letting the rational part, the practical piece, the logical piece, that this is someone who could be with someone else. This is someone who could never be what you saw that the two of you could have been. This is someone who was not able or willing or capable, whatever it was, to put the effort into seeing what the two of you could have been. I mean, he left your dream halfway. You know, he left your dream just hanging out there. And that is the most painful piece, is that he wasn't able to do anything to see this dream come true to fruition. He wasn't able to do that. He was only able to just be who he is, where he is, and where he's at. And there's nothing more for you to do here, because you've been doing it all. You can only do so much. And when you have exhausted what you need to do, and this is different for everyone, so it's not a one size fits all, but when you have done everything you can to move forward and to move the relationship forward and to make things, you know, when you've done everything you can to make this thing work, to make it turn out, and you end up with just the reality that you're just giving, you're just giving. You're the only one here doing the giving and doing the work, and he's not putting it in. At some point you accept the fact that, wow, I am hurting myself more by staying here. And whatever he does with his life, there's a need to detach from that. And whether or not you find meditation or prayer or some identity with something bigger outside of yourself, if that enables you to move on. But there's something here where you recognize, I have done what I can. And in a detached way, you allow yourself to recognize that someone who could be with someone else, and someone who could do this to you and be with someone else and choose to go that route, they must have a pretty strong pull to be anything but working on this relationship with you. And so whether it's they don't want to do any work and they're going to just go from person to person to person to find more of what they're looking for, I mean, that is their prerogative. I mean, we reject who we reject, and it's not a personal thing. It's just we're not into them, or we're not, or they bring too much, whatever they do. I mean, it's just most of us, that's not the case, because we're ready to do as much work as we could possibly do. So, but it's recognizing that this person is not yours. This person is a free person, free to choose who they want to choose. And just because they have not chosen you doesn't mean you need to make it part of your ego that makes you worthy or not worthy based on one person's opinion of you. And no matter what you saw, I really feel like, Marie, that there's, this is like the death of a dream. It's the loss of a dream. It's the ending of a dream, and I think that's what hurts the most. And I may be wrong, but it seems what it may be more for you, because if the facts alone about who he is and that he could do this aren't enough for you to see that this is not the guy for you, then it's almost always the loss of the dream, and it's the loss of the plans and everything else and the way you had pictured it and what was promised to you, right? I mean, it's his promise to you, either overtly or what you assumed was him essentially saying things that meant something because his word meant something to you. So it's the loss of that dream. So it's not just grieving him, grieve the loss of that, and then the justice, the sense of justice when you give that much. And I know you gave so much to him in the terms of material things too to him. So when you look at that, I would just acknowledge that piece of it too, that you have felt that there has been a grave injustice done here, and acknowledge that piece, because we love justice. We as feelers, we feel such a sense of right and wrong, and we know what is right and we know what is wrong. And when someone behaves wrongly, then we need to look at that as, okay, so this is a part of our search for justice. We want to see them get what they deserve, or we want to, and we may not even be overtly saying that. That may feel like, I can't say that. I can't even be thinking that. That would be horrible of me. But deep down, you may be feeling some kind of that sentiment, and that doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you real, and it makes you real, because that's the reality of why these things can hurt so much and hit so deep, is because they're not paying at all. And we have paid with our time, with our money, with the loss of our, years of our lives, with our energy and, our vitality, and just our the fact that we've become more cynical now. We can just feel that the prices we've paid are just endless for that. So come into the side of the reality of where you are, and go there. Okay. The reality of where you are, who he is. Try to stick to the facts as much as possible of what you know. If you have someone who knows both of you, if you can, bring them in to remind you, or just to point out the realities that you may gloss over or miss, because we remember usually the good things so well and not as much the reality. So that's what I would encourage you to do. And yeah. Okay. But it's not easy. My heart goes out to you. I feel deeply for what that feels like, and yeah, and I hope it helps to talk about it and to know you're not alone. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you so much on that one. Okay, much love to you. Happy Valentine's Day. Seems a little hollow, but yeah, is what you're dealing with. But yeah, remember who you are. And you are the same person you are when you met him. You are the same person you are after now too. Okay, nothing has changed. He didn't get to do something to you. If it seems like he took something from you, take it back. Take it back. Don't let him have it. Don't let him take that too. Okay, he doesn't get to. All right. Okay, let's go to Victoria. So Victoria, I had a call with Victoria, and we were talking about her guy. So, or a guy that she had just recently started seeing. So Victoria decided to break things off with this guy who wasn't stepping up, and she believed he was talking to other women, and so she was concerned about, or she didn't want that. She felt she needed to do this because she didn't know where she stood, right? And there's nothing worse in the beginning. If you're looking for something and you're not on the same page as in what they're looking for, then you got to weigh that, right? And so, do I want to just keep getting to know him? Do I want to just keep going down this path, or do I want to make a decision? And do I, have I got enough information? This is always what I'm looking at. Like, never be afraid of what you get back, or what you find out. Never be afraid to find out what's really there, even if it's not what you wanted, even if it's not what you expected. Okay. Because what you will find is the truth is always so much better in the long run, and knowing it early. The earlier you find out, yeah, it's disappointing, it can burst your bubble, and it can, especially if you've been getting excited and telling people about it. But the reality is you want to know the truth. And if you're both not on the same page, it is so much easier to end it earlier than down the road. But you have to have enough information to do that. That's key. And that will differ for everybody. So you need to have enough information to be able to make a decision. Otherwise, you get stuck. You can't make a decision. So don't be afraid to find out more. It's all information that you can use to make your decision. So she made that decision. She sent him a really nice message. She told him it wasn't working for her. And she was gracious. I told her that. She was gracious. She said it was nice getting to know you, the distance, and no possibility of meeting anytime soon because of the distance. This was a long distance thing. Is not something I can further invest in. I wish you all the best. And then she got back. He was nonchalant about it. So it bothered her that he was nonchalant about accepting her no. So basically, he acted like, he didn't try to talk about it. He didn't try to get her back. He didn't try to, do anything more. He didn't ask to talk about it over the phone. He didn't do anything like that. He just literally took what she said and he saw it as an ending statement. It is better that you did this sooner rather than later, Victoria, I can tell you that. But what I will say on this one is that most men, even some of the, men who are just not on the same page, but are not, bad men at all. They're just on different pages. A lot of them are scared to talk about it and are scared to have a discussion on the phone, which is kind of the problem in the first place. If you have a man who's not comfortable with talking and you are a talker and you want to talk about things, you've got two choices. I mean, you either have to accept the fact that you're different here and you go find some other people to talk to, or you're going to frustrate yourself by keep having different expectations of him than he's willing to give you. What is it, who he actually is. I mean, this again is the looking at what is. So he read that, and that was it for him. He accepted your no. He accepted that this wasn't. He took you at face value, which again is a very practical. I mean, that doesn't surprise me. So I think the thing to know about these is expectations. So when you decide that you've gotten enough information, you're on two different pages, and you decide you want to just, cut your losses early, just know the chance of it going the way that you would like it to go, or having expectations that you're not even aware of, that just feel, you feel bad or you feel something. When someone doesn't meet those expectations by coming back with something, just know that is the risk, right? I mean, you could have had that conversation. You could have asked to have more of a conversation. You could have told him how you were feeling. He just took this as, okay, well, she doesn't want to go further, so that's it. She's given her reasons and it's over. But I don't think that you missed out on anything here, because to me, what this tells me is that this guy just was content to accept that. So if there were other issues, that might have come up, I think he would have been content to just accept the fact that, you felt the way you did, and it's just the way it is. And so, whether it's having expectations that the men that you are choosing are not able to meet, or whether it's just the fact that, this is where they're at, and, just accepting them for who they are. Either way, the bottom line here is that you had a sense that, he was talking to other women, right? And that, and you felt you needed to do that. I'm listening to that. You knew him better than I do. And so you telling me I felt I needed to do this, okay, that tells me a lot. Because if you were feeling something here and you were the one talking to him and you were the one getting to know him, I trust yourself. There was something here, and I think you got that confirmation because he just came back with, okay, okay. And moved on, and that's it. So I wouldn't have any regrets on this one because you got your answer, and you already knew what you needed to do. So yeah, and I hope you're not okay. I hope you're not second guessing yourself on this one because he didn't really give you any place to latch back onto. There's nowhere else to go with this, with what he left you with. So I think that is what you take from that and move on from there. Okay, and no. This is how you get to the better ones. This is how you find someone. You find someone because our programming has a set to meet the wrong ones first, right? Because you're going to go on autopilot. We're going to meet someone based on our programming, based on our messaging, based on how we've been conditioned, okay? In our culture, in our society, and in our families. So that's going to dictate who we meet first. So those are going to be generally the more unhealthy ones and the ones who are not on our radar yet, as being the ones we want to avoid. So first we meet those because we blindly go in those with all the things that draw us to someone like that in the first place, that are programming and our conditioning. Once we have a bad experience with them, once we recognize why our programming draws us there and that this person is actually not the healthy person for us and not a match, then we move on to discover, hey, these men had something in common, and we start to string together the threads of what made them similar, why we were attracted to them. Then we up our level to the next level where we meet healthier men because we can recognize more of what we want. So you first come to who you don't want, and then you come to who you do want. But you go through the ones you don't want first, and you get to those reasons. All right. Happy Valentine's Day, Victoria. Sending you so much love from here. I hope you feel it. And there will be someone else who does step up. Men are evolving all the time. I want to tell you that. I mean, it is true that younger men have an easier time. They're coming into a new place. So it is no coincidence that a lot of older women are finding themselves more attracted to younger men and working out. I just had a woman from the UK who I spent months helping her to quiet the voice that was telling her, that was basically screaming that you can't date a younger man, and then you can't want to move forward and move in with this younger man, and then it came down to you can't want to marry this younger guy. And wow, she is so happy. She sent me a picture of their wedding picture, and all it took was just overcoming her programming that said you can't be with a younger man. And yet all the men that I helped coach her through, who none of them were the right ones, and no one made her feel like this guy, and it did it for her. And I'll never forget, she told me something. It was so interesting because in the UK they call it the rubbish bin, the garbage, the trash can. And I will never forget, she told me in one of our first calls after she'd met this guy, and she said, there's something so different about him. Unlike all the other men that I dated who on paper looked like we were so much more of a match, he is the first guy. I knew there was something different about him when he just matter of fact up and took my bathroom rubbish bin out. And I never forgot that, because it was that act of doing that just showed her how, it just said so much to her that here's a guy who's done the most basic thing to just help her out, and just did it. And she never had, anyone do that. And that became, kind of like our inside joke, because there were so many things that could be traced back to the fact that this guy just took the initiative and just took out this rubbish bin to make her life easier for her. I mean, she was perfectly capable of doing it, but it was the fact that he just did this little thing for her, and it meant so much. So anyway, that was they got married actually about a year ago now, and and so happy. This is not her first marriage. It was her second marriage, and she had a son. But anyway, there are men waking up at all different ages and just recognizing, that old things, ways and programming that they're so used to are not necessarily the best way to make relationships work well. And there's men waking up to that and starting to look within more at themselves and become more evolved. And then there are younger men who have a much easier time of that because they're growing up in a different culture and a different time, even just by, not even that many years, but things have changed so fast. And the awareness and the acceptance, the fact that I think the biggest thing that I feel hope with is how much we are understanding that men are allowed to have feelings, and men do have feelings, and they have been very poorly served by not being allowed to have any feelings except anger, and anger not even an emotion that they're allowed to have healthy ways of having an outlet for that anger. So the basically the one emotion they're given, anger, they're not even given proper ways and healthy ways to put that one emotion they're allowed into something that will help them to feel and to get through it and to have an outlet for it. So we're allowing men, our culture is starting to talk more and have more conversations about how men have to be allowed to have feelings, and we need to normalize that for them. So that's going to be slower for the older men to wake up from, the older they are, but it is going to be something that they are going to find at some point so much easier. It lets them off the hook because they're finally able to feel and to have places to go. Like we women have so many places to go with our friends and with just, things like this. And there's so few places like that for men to go without them feeling weird or to feel like there's, something wrong with them, to the old taboos on different things. So it's getting better, and I'm more hopeful with the more stories I hear from men who are seeing that and waking up. So don't you dare say that all the good men are taken or all the good men, there's things that happen all the time to have more men come into the running and come out who are more evolved and actually acknowledge they have feelings too, and they're more human and things like that. Okay, that was a long way of saying that. All right. Okay, and Joe, I'm going to go to Joe real quick because Joe had a quick one I don't want to lose track of. What do you think of a man who wants to date but wants you to pay for yourself? Okay, so a man who wants you to pay for yourself. For one thing, this is very much a, he's setting it depends how long you've been with him here, but someone who wants you to pay for yourself is either a guy who's looking at this as being very equal, and he's speaking of evolved men, he's either like, okay, well, we're going to evolve here and we're going to make it so that we're all, it's fair game who gets to, pay. I don't have to pay. You can pay for yourself because we're evolved and we're we're doing the thing here. We're equals, so you can pay too. So I guess what that tells me, what do I think? So what I think of that is something where there's going to be a very equal male, female, feminine, masculine energy. So this is going to be shared. This is not the man who's going to be taking care of you in any way. This is not going to be like the gentleman. This guy is not going to be holding doors open for you. This is not going to be any of that. This is going to be someone who is establishing very clearly by in a monetary way. You can't really establish it much clearer than going on a date where each of you, are equally bringing money to the table. So that really is a statement that he's making, that he is, that the two of you are equal in this way. And so don't expect a lot of the gentlemanly type behaviors that you might expect otherwise. So, so it's a matter of you deciding, or else he just, he wants to establish it's a friendship and it's not a date in his mind, so that you're clear on that. So my question for you, Joe, is what do you think of this? What do you think of this here? Do you want to, is this something that you have feelings about, strong feelings about? Or is this something where you could, get to know him a little bit and see what you think about him? But if this is a turnoff for you right off the start, then I would look at the reasons why it's a turnoff and decide what you want to do with him based on the fact that you've got some pretty strong feelings here. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, it's actually, he's shown you more of who he is early, which is helpful, because then you can decide, is this guy, the right one for me, or is this guy, let me clarify, is this guy the right one for me to go to the second date? We're not talking, is he the right one? Lots of information needs to be known before you know that. But so you don't want to get ahead of yourself here, but is he the right guy to go to another date with, to go at a game? That's all you're doing here. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. If you want to, just if you have feelings about this, so one way or another, just look at that and figure out what you want to do with it. Okay. So this next one is from Kelly, who says, another Kelly, she's in a situationship, and Lord knows what it means or where we are. I'm a words person, and he doesn't give me enough words. Okay, Kelly, this is definitely interesting. And I had to smile when I read this, not because it's not difficult. I mean, it's difficult to be in there. I smiled only because I am so much a words person. I mean, obviously, you could tell I have a hard time not being wordy. I'm a words person too. I love words. He doesn't give you enough words. So basically, you're in a situationship, and you are in a situationship, and if you don't know what it means or where we are, that's intentional by him. So I want you to be aware that this is what he wants. This is what works for him. If it wasn't, he would clarify this, okay? Because you obviously like to talk. You're a words person. He doesn't. If he's not talking, it's because he either just doesn't feel comfortable talking, or he doesnn't want to. So it's one or the other. I mean, it's either that he's purposely not talking because really it's both. So he's not talking because that is not what he is choosing to do. Whether or not it's because he doesn't want to, or whether or not it's just, not his thing, and he really can't just talk easily. He finds it very uncomfortable, and it goes deeper than a choice. Either way, this is who you've got. So what I would do is I would look at this as, what does it mean to you? And where are the two of you based on what you've seen? Okay, based on the information you have. It looks like you're looking to get this from him. Okay, you want input from him. You want to know, what have we got? What's going on here? What type of a relationship is this situationship, right? It's not going to come from him. This has to come from you. So what I encourage you to do is find out what it means to you, and where we are. Ask yourself, where are we? Do some, look at the behavior of him. Look at the pattern of this relationship. Look at what this situationship is. Look at where you guys have been since you've been going out, or, since you've known each other, whatever's been going on. What does it mean to you? What is this telling you? What are you picking up on? Does it work for you? That's the bottom line with this. Does it work for you? You can be whatever it is, whatever we want to call it, whatever he's calling it. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. Okay? And that's the main thing. So that's what I would look at here. Yeah, that's all that matters. You're not getting anything more from him. So, and that means he's good with where it is. So if you're good with where things are, and you can just, and it's more than just, feeling pressured by society or friends or family to define it. If that need to define it is coming from outside of you, and you actually are fine with this, situationship, you're calling it, if you're able to accept that, aside from what pressure you might feel from anyone to define it, but if you yourself, apart from them, are okay, if there are enough reasons to be in this, than not be in this, then there's no problem with you being in it, because you're the only one who has to live with this, not anyone else, and not anyone else who has expectations of you. Okay. All right. Nina says, I feel very alone. Okay, Nina. I can read between, I can get a lot out of short words too. So I feel very alone. So Nina, what I want to tell you today on this Valentine's Day, again, everything we've talked about, I mean, this is where you become aware, right, that you don't have someone significant, and there's so much emphasis on that. So this is not a feel-good day, unless you can try to overcome that by making it a I love me day, which a lot of us are successful doing that, but not all of us. So, if you're just feeling very alone, a few things. One, I want to remind you that there are so many people in this world that feel the same way. Okay. So if you have all these people in the world who are feeling so alone, we just need to get more of the alone people together to feel less alone. And then it won't be so alone. So I know people who are finding friendships and meeting people. I know nothing compares to that significant other, especially when you don't have that. When you don't have a partner, no one can tell you, just go find a friend or go adopt a dog, or no one can tell you that when you're in it, because I had enough of those people trying to give me that perspective. It never, ever worked, because I wanted a guy. I wanted a man. I knew what I wanted. I didn't just want to settle, for a friend or, whatever else I was settling, or that, their suggestions were great, but I knew what I wanted, and not having a man made me feel lonely and alone. So what I want to tell you is, in the meantime, because there's all kinds of things that we can do in the meantime before we have someone. I don't want you to lose hope. I want you to know that, again, like I told someone earlier, seasons, right? You're in a season right now where you are alone. That is your reality. You are alone if you define it as you don't have someone special in your life right now. And my heart goes out to you for that. I feel you on that one. I know what that feels like so well, when everyone tries to make you feel better by telling you what you do have, and all you're looking at is what you don't have. So I'm not going to try and fix that or make it better. I'm just going to say, I feel you, I get you, and my heart goes out to you. But I am going to say that in the meantime place, the more you can do to focus on ways to not be alone, by simply looking at the definition as aloneness, being alone. What does that mean, right? There's ways to be with people so that you feel a little less alone. And so the more you can do to meet people, the more you can do to surround yourself with people who love you, who care about you, the more you can do to just find places and people that you feel good about being around with, the more you can, social media affords us opportunities to, meet up with people that we otherwise would never have been able to meet. And I know online can be lonely. It can be its own type of loneliness. But if there is, if there are things you haven't explored yet, I'll tell you, I can tell you so many stories of women who were able to find someone in the most unexpected ways, simply because they took a look at things, that they were passionate about, that really they wanted to get involved in, that they wanted to give back with, or just what they came to identify more about who they are. And they met people in those circles online, and they either, meeting them led to eventually meeting more people, and in real life, and just the connections that afforded them. So I guess what I'm saying is, we're not going to fix alone if it's just someone special, because you can have any guy. I mean, you can pick a guy just to not feel alone. But picking a guy, that's not what we're talking about here, because just finding a guy to pick to not be alone is not going to be someone who, not what you're really talking about, right? Not really who you're looking at. So I guess keep in mind that you can choose someone. There are lots of lonely people that you could choose from who are looking for someone to, and would love to have you in their life. But since you're actually looking for a certain type of person, that isn't going to cut it. It's not going to be the same. So just remind yourself as much as you can about the places where you can choose in here, the places where you can find your power. So you might be alone, but you're not lonely in a relationship. And I know there's a couple people in here that I've talked to. I know that anyone talking from that place of being alone in a relationship is really, that's like the worst kind of loneliness. So you are choosing to not trade what you've got now for that kind of loneliness. So there is something to be said for that, and to recognize that is a choice in itself. Okay, and I know I don't intend to fix this, to make it better. I just want to give you some perspectives, just to help bring you back to your power, and to recognize that you are still choosing. Okay, there is still a choice inherent here, even in that loneliness, where you could just be settling for something else if it would feel like settling for that, and you're not. So there is some kind of a choice here, just to give you some reminder of your power. Okay. And otherwise, Nina, yeah, I send you love. I hope you feel that. And I just want you to know, yeah, you're not alone. And there are so many other people who would love to meet you. And if you haven't met them yet, because of proximity, because of opportunity, try to make some of those opportunities, and remove some of those obstacles to proximity, and meet some people who can actually see you, who are capable of seeing you, who are capable of understanding you, who will love you and see you the way you love and the way you see people too. All right. Okay, Nina. Next, I am going to talk. Oh, okay. Here we go. Jean. So Jean sent me kind of a long one. She had an update she gave me. I didn't get back to I didn't. She was hoping I was gonna do another live. So she missed that, and then she sent me an update. So real quick, I'll give you the synopsis here with Jean. Jean became involved with a man that she met online. She was trying to determine what to do about a long-term relationship. Okay, she met him. Oh, okay. So this was one. So there was another woman involved her. Okay. So this guy was trying to figure out what he wanted to do with his other relationship. He was tired of waiting on her. It was a long distance relationship that he was in. So she met this guy while he was actually out. Okay, so he was involved with someone else, and she met him. So that honestly would have been my red flag there. So even if because any involvement, even if they're not physically together, if the fact is that they are at all like if he's emotionally connected to this woman, the fact that he's trying to figure out what to do, that is not your place, Jean, to help him figure that out. Okay, this guy needs, I mean, you can tell him, yeah, if you want to be with me, end it with her, and then maybe we can talk after it's been enough time that you truly are over her. So I think that's what I would have done first. But because we're looking at this through, hindsight now, it's hard. And I know, and I never want you to feel like you can't write to me or you can't talk to me because you're embarrassed that you should have known something different. Okay, we learn, and we all learn at different paces. And if you knew half of the stuff that I learned the hard way, where my friends were trying to beat me over the head with it to try and get me to see things, and I didn't see it, we learn this stuff. And so coulda, woulda, shoulda, we didn't. So we start from there. What's the reality of where you're at now, and what do we do? Where do we go from here? So basically, it sounds like you guys spent almost 2 months constantly together, and he made you feel amazing. And then she comes up at the end of that, or she comes up in the conversation, not physically, but to clarify that. She comes up in the conversation, and he surprises you because you don't realize, so you didn't realize that they were still in contact. You thought it was over. Okay. And so there's this tension. Okay. And then he starts distancing. Okay. So everything changed from then on. Okay. Well, of course it did. So let me clarify. So he's got this woman who's long distance, who he's trying to figure out what she's doing. There's something to do with a visa, something to do with that stuff. So he's still with her he's still with her, but he's with you and you're there in the present. And so he's just living this. Yeah. No wonder you felt so cherished and content with him, authentically content, because he's got it both ways, so, and he even said that you were his girlfriend. Yeah. So this guy, honestly, This tells me he knew he had a limited time with you before she was going to come back in the picture, and so he was going to make the most of it. And so what this goes back to, if you ever, any of you are ever involved with a guy who's got someone on the side, I don't care how complicated or how understandingly complicated it is. If there is any other woman anywhere, okay, on any kind of sideline or anywhere where there is someone who's still in his life somewhere, I would leave it. I would leave it alone. I would literally tell him, you know what, once you're totally done with her, once you've, it's been a while, then I would leave it, yeah, then maybe, but it takes a while, why is someone over them? So yeah. It is absolutely, you're right. He had, so you told him that it seems like he's chosen to make her a priority. I like what you said. If things change in the near term, you can reach out to me. It is in your best interest to move on. Yes, it is in your best interest to move on. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you, yeah, you're going to struggle. And so the update you sent me, where you give him so you sent him another text, a follow-up text. And you're praying you're invoking the prayer and the universe and everything you can. Yeah, that's what we do, right? I mean, you want this guy, you want this back, this feeling. This is what I talked about earlier when I was talking about the feeling, right? And you lose that, and this feeling you've got. It is so hard because he saw you in a way, he treated you in a way you hadn't been treated before, all of this. So so I would say don't send a text. She wants to know if she should send him a text with a photo that she'd taken of the two of them. And then she was talking about saying her dog misses him too, invoking that, right? All these things to try to get him back. Don't. If you already have and I'm too late, then, before we had a chance to talk on here, then there's nothing, you've already done that. But if you haven't, if you held off, don't, because honestly, he knows this about you. He knows how good he had it with you. He knows who you are. He had so much fun with you. He was capable of having so much fun with you. But the reason why a guy like this has so much fun with you and can treat you this well and be the perfect gentleman and just be so, just treat you this way and treat you like, I mean, you felt like a queen, just the way he treated you. But it's because it is such a short-lived thing, because he knows he's got this other woman he's got to deal with. And at some point he obviously, wooed her like that. He was like that with her too. So at some point, this guy knows he's got a reckoning to deal with her. And at that point, you're going to have to be moved out, and he's going to be telling her the same thing about you. So, this is a guy, and there's actually, I know what neck of the woods you're over in, Oceania over there. And I know, I mean, honestly, your guy, and I think you even sent me a picture of him. He reminds me so much of a woman I was coaching a couple years ago in Australia as well. And, I mean, this sounds like her guy. And the picture, I mean, it's been a while, but I mean, he looks like he could even be this guy. So, I mean, I'm sure it's too much of a coincidence. It's not, but they are around the same age. But anyway, my bottom line is I coached this woman. I was working with her to try and get over this guy for months, if not, longer than that. She had a really, really hard time with him. And it was the same thing. And the problem is, and I want you all to hear this, the problem is, once you have invested something of yourself, once you have opened the door to a guy like this who tells you his sob story, who tells you his story, he's on the fence, he's undecided, he doesn't know what to do, he's got this, whatever in his past, he's got this woman he doesn't know what to do with. And whenever he gives you this story that is so, it gets its tentacles into us, and we want to help, and we see this confused guy who's sensitive and sweet and kind, and seems like he has this good heart, and we want to do something here to try and help him, but also help ourselves, because if we can help him figure out what to do with her, then hey, we're in the running. And that taps into our our whole thing that, whoa, this guy might choose me. It's our competition thing, right? It's the thing we were brought up with, to be competitive, even subconsciously, right? I mean, but it's this thing that if he can choose me over her, then I'm something. I elevate my status. So don't go down that path in the first place. When you have a guy, no matter how much, and that pull is going to be there, don't resist it, because it doesn't get better. It gets worse. It gets so much worse. It gets so much harder to extricate yourself out of this relationship, because this is what's so hard, and your dog's attached. Sometimes there's kids, and kids are attached. It's awful. So if you have a guy who there's any other woman on the horizon, do not get started. It is so hard to get out. And when you have that memory, it really is like a muscle memory. It's this really deep memory. It's a cellular memory, for the psychological term for it. It's a deeply embedded memory at the cellular level of our very being, our makeup, where we have this memory. Then you have this memory of feeling so light and beautiful, and everything you felt with him for those 7 weeks. 7 weeks is not a long time to he can put on a show for a while, and that's what happened. And it all came to an end as soon as you brought out the elephant in the room, or he brought it up or whatever. But there's some other woman. So we're right back to that beginning where he said, there's another woman. Yeah, so that's good. If you didn't send anything else, that's good, because yeah. Anyway, so just know this guy. Okay, so the way that this guy saw you, someone else is capable of seeing you like that too. See, that's you. That is you. It's what I talked to, I think with Nina, or it was someone else who talked about that. The whole thing about self-esteem and confidence, right? So what you saw, what you had for 7 weeks, that is who you are. Okay. The way, all that light, all that beauty, the way that you felt so loved and cherished and adored and all that stuff, that's you. That's because that is what you evoke in someone to treat you that way, because you have all those qualities that bring that out in someone to treat you that way in the first place. The problem is that when we think we can only get it from these guys who are so charming or so much like that, we attach that to them. We attribute it to them. It's because of them that I am like that I feel that way. And so what I would say to that is no, don't do that to yourself, because this comes from you. You simply had a guy show up who was able to recognize that. It's usually, someone who, and he went over the top of it because he knew he didn't have a whole lot of time to keep it going. But when you have someone like that, that's because of you. Don't attribute that to them. Don't do this. Don't put it on him. And this goes for, Diana, when you were talking about that in here, you wrote to me. I want to say that to you too, okay? Because this applies to you. You guys have similar here. But when someone makes you feel that good, okay, and makes you light up like that, makes you feel so good about yourself, that is not because of them. That is because of you. Do not attribute it to them. Don't elevate them because they could see that or they could make you feel that way. That is all you. And there will be someone else that is not exclusively tied to them. You will feel that good with someone else. This doesn't have anything to do. They don't have a patent on this. This is not something that's exclusively only available from them, that you can only get from them. It just means you had someone who saw you, but in that case, this is someone who actually manipulated you to a certain extent with it. And not always. I mean, they can mean well. I mean, in the moment, I'm sure he was as enamored, with you. He didn't want it to end, but he wanted it both ways. And so only if you're okay with that, only if you're okay with there being another woman, only if you're okay with it, you not being exclusive, will this ever work for you. Okay. And that's the bottom line. But good. I'm glad you didn't text him more than that. And yeah. And it's just, the reality is, when it's intoxicating, it feels so good to have someone see us like that. You need to trade that in for someone else who will see that. And that in the temporary, in the meantime, that can come from a friend. It can come from, just being around people, being in certain places. It can come from just something you love. It can come from, music or painting or some, there's so many different ways that speak to us in a way that recognizes us or sees us. And it isn't always a person. It isn't always who we think it is. It can just be a feeling. It can be a place we go. It can be the way that we, just find ourselves in music. It can be a place where we find ourselves in dance or in, there's all kinds of different places. But the bottom line is there will be someone else. He doesn't hold some kind of exclusive, patent on that this is his thing and he's the only one who can see it. There will be someone else who sees you. And it is not worth wasting any more of your time on someone who has someone else in the picture. This isn't a competition. He got to know you for 7 weeks. If that is not enough for him to let go of the other woman and be honest with her and come to you and tell you specifically, I'm no longer with her. Those are the only words you want to hear. I'm no longer with her. And that's for the other ones of you on here who've got a guy who is either married or with someone else. I know there's different situations of that. From those of you, if that is what is going on and you have other, if there's any other woman anywhere, until that tie has been, that cord, that tie has been cut, until officially there is no other woman, unless that works for you and you are honest with yourself, there is no way that anything can become of this or anything can work, because you can't have someone who is 1 foot in and 1 foot out unless you also have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Some of these things do work. If you recognize what it is you're here for, and if you recognize, this goes back to, I think, my last video about it's your choice, it's your decision, right? There's all kinds of unconventional relationships that work for people, and it's because they work for both people. If you are not one of those people who that would work for, don't pretend that it does work. Don't pretend that you can make it work, because it won't work if you are not a person who can honestly accept anything like that. Okay, so being honest with yourself and recognizing that's really important. All right. So anyway, I hope that helps clarify. I'm not, knocking that these guys aren't, they're not bad guys, most of them. Some of them get caught up in this, and when they are deliberately leading someone on, that's bad. There's no two ways around that, and I never want you to ever be with a guy who will lead you on and lie to you ever. But some of these guys are, some of them we love them for all kinds of reasons, and it's not easy to just let someone go. But I am telling you that honestly, you know this. You've read, you've heard the stories of the women who think they're going to change this guy and think it's going to get better. You can inspire a guy. You can inspire him with your light, with your understanding. For 7 weeks, this guy got to know you. For others of you who have been in, long relationships with someone like this, it doesn't take that long to inspire a guy. And if you have inspired him, it's just, by the time that you reach a point where, you're recognizing he's not going to change. Well, you've done all the inspiring that you need to. At some point, you reach a point where you just, you can't inspire yourself anymore than you already have. And he, you've laid it bare for him. You're all the inspiration. You ooze inspiration. You're inspiration. You're light. You're the opposite of him. And so if he wants to get there, he can get there. If he wants to take steps to do that, you've been that inspiration. But inspiration only goes so far before actual real action comes to support that. Okay, and that's you deserve that. So we're not looking for perfection here, but you are looking for a guy who's going to treat you well, who's not going to lie to you, and you cannot be the only person doing the work in a relationship where, you know, you want more and you're not a martyr and you're not just going to keep giving and giving and giving like that, because at some point the resentment's going to come in there. So don't try to convince yourself that you can be in that when you can't. Okay. Kylie, I see you there from Australia, and I guess we're at tomorrow somewhere in the afternoon. Usually I go by, I know my night, I usually have my evening calls with Australia and the Philippines over that way because of the time change. So I'm getting to know my time zones around here. But anyway, I wanted to speak about our stories, and I want to tell you guys something really interesting, because someone wrote to me, and I was struggling for the words, which is, of course, words. I love my words, but I was struggling for the words because I was, I got an email from someone that was so beautiful, and I just felt every word. I mean, there was so much in it that I wanted to jump through, my phone and just help and just do something and just take you out of your story. So this story was just so, I mean, it wasn't a story. It was the reality of her life. It was just really sad. Actually, I don't even like the word sad. It was just, it was just a lot of rough, down on her luck, a lot of stuff that she had been through, a lot of stuff, and a lot of hard stuff on so many different levels: financial, emotional, physical, health, and just, with kids involved, and just and a system, a system that should have been supportive that wasn't, so it's a society thing too. And just so much of this, and just, I just felt every word of this. And what hit me was, as I was trying to search for the words, I realized I had forgotten about her on one of her last lives. So I had sent her an email saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot about you," because it does happen. I do forget sometimes. And sometimes the most important ones, I've told you this, I will forget the most important ones because they are the ones that I really am thinking about my words, and I really want to say something that really helps. And so I'm thinking so deeply about it. What do? I put it in drafts, or I table it, or I write some thoughts down on a piece of paper while I'm somewhere thinking about it, or I jot something down. And that's what I forget. So always send me another email if I don't answer you, because there is a possibility, even though, like I've said, I'm trying to be better at that, but that does happen every once in a while. That one of those does escape me like that. And this was one of them. And so when I sent something back to her, it turned out I had just sent out an email. The email that I had sent out from my blog was an email that said exactly what I was struggling to find the words to. And she actually responded back with that, which there is such synchronicity there. And this happens more often than you would ever imagine. And so this is exactly what happened. We were so on the same wavelength. I almost felt like I had leapt through the phone or my computer to my laptop to reach out to her. But what the email was that I had sent out, the blog from there, it was about being stuck in our stories. And I was trying to delicately say this in a way, because I never, ever, ever want to belittle or devalue or just make light of what it is you're going through and what you're feeling. And especially when we're talking about big things to do with financial or health or other things, I never, ever, ever want to make light of it or make it so that, oh, you just have to change your story and it changes everything. I hate cliche stuff because it does, because I don't, I just want to be really gentle with just how we come to see our stories, or just things like that. Because there are a lot of things we can change, and then there are some things that we can't. And it goes back to the the serenity prayer, things like that, right? Accepting the things that we can control and looking at the things that we can't control. And so, what I want to say about that to you is that as I was reading all these things, and I was just my mind goes to fix it. I want to fix it. I want to fix the system that has so done you wrong. I want to fix these things. I want to fix these and make life better for you. And I want to help you, and I want to help your kids, and I want to do all this. And then as I come to that, and I'm angry for you that you've had to go through this, and I'm angry at the injustices out there, and I'm angry at all these things that you are having to go through as a result of inequities and inequality and just, the absence of a system that should be working and is actually working for the wrong ones and all of these things. I mean, don't get me started on that soapbox, because that's a whole other thing. But as I was realizing that, I realized something, and that is that what I always come to is, okay, so I can't fix this. My role here is not to fix this, because there is something in here for you to fix this yourself, or there is something in here that is beyond what I can do in my own capacity. And as much as I want to help and do something, I would be more helpful to try to help you to be able to help yourself through this, because you know more of what you need than I can even see from here with my limited vision. So what I want to say to you is and what I did want to say, and this email jumped out at her, which was so interesting because she came back with that, reflecting on that email. Your story. Okay. We all have our stories, and our stories, there are things about them we can change. There are things about them we can't. So what I want to focus on, what I want you to focus on, are the things that you can change within your specific story and what is specifically happening to you. And look at what you can change. What can you do? Don't look at what you can't. Don't look at all the things that are wrong with the system and all the things that are wrong with everything unlucky or unfortunate that has happened to you, or anything that you're looking at that is just so wrong, okay, with what has befallen you and what has happened. Don't look at all that. Acknowledge that if you need to, but look at what can you focus on. Is there any one thing? Can you start with one thing to shift the story so that there might be a little piece of hope there? Is there anything that you can talk to someone who might be able to help you in the area that you pick? Is there someone, is there something that could allow you to come out of the story that has plagued you for so long with, this is just the way it is, I can't change it? Is there anything that can get that beautiful light back, that can bring back you out from under the weight of all this deep stuff that has been put on you? If you shed that and get that off of yourself and allow yourself to stand up in your own light, okay? Because I know if you're here, you've got light and lots of it, because that's just the way it works. So the only thing that's wrong is we've had our light beaten down, we've had our light put out, we've had too many people dumping on us with their stuff. We took it on. I mean, this is the pattern. And so by the time you're feeling like everything is helpless and hopeless and there's no way to get it better, it's only because you've been beaten down by so many people who have only known how to dim your light in order to try and make theirs brighter. And they were trying to be happy, and they were trying to seek happiness through you, and they were trying to get their needs met through you. And you are not that. You are not just this vessel that just gives and gives and gives and gives so that you're completely depleted and there's nothing left in you. You can't live like that. You absolutely can't. I don't care who you are. You cannot live like that for long. And so look at the things you can change, focus on changing those things. And once you have worked on that one little thing, focus on that one little thing, because what you need is a confidence boost. You need a confidence builder. You need something to chart your path, to show you the way, that there is a way out of something. So pick something easy, pick something that's just doable. Like or pick something that's more doable than everything else that doesn't look like it's doable at all. Pick just one thing and find some kind of a flicker of light again, where you feel like your light has grown dim, just by knowing that you have found something where you can climb your way back out of that to some semblance of control over your life. Okay. Some semblance of your own power, some semblance of something there. Anyway, that's what I never got a chance to say to you that I wanted to say to you. I don't know how to do that, except that I see you so clearly, and without even knowing you more than you shared with me, but I see so clearly that this is not the way that your life is meant to be for you. And there is something more. And I hold that for you, even if you cannot see that. There is something more. And I have seen it enough times happen, even from the ones who doubt it at first or just can't find that one thing even easily. But there is something more there. And the more you focus on what you can do, the more that can become more apparent, and the more that help will arrive, the more you're going to be able to think outside the box. There is a whole lot of thinking outside the box that we need to go to be able to really see some type of miracles start happening. Okay. And I hesitate to use the word miracles because that gets used in so many different settings. But that's essentially what they are. I mean, it's literally when you set an intention, when you start working towards something, and you see something as being there's some glimmer of hope there. It's even just that little glimmer of hope that causes, something outside, something bigger, something on a spiritual level to come in and to meet you right where you are, and to go through this with you, and to start opening some light, to start opening, the window, the slats in the window, so the light can get through, and you can start seeing more hope and more something there than just what has felt so bleak. So don't underestimate the power of just what a different perspective, and a perspective of a little bit of hope in one area, what that can start to just slowly open up to let in more light. Okay. You start small, you start really, really small. You don't get to the big ones without conquering the little ones, or getting your head around the fact that you might actually have some power here for you too. Okay. Oh, I love that. Even a tiny candle means you're no longer sitting in the dark. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That is actually absolutely beautiful. That's what I'm talking about here. Okay. There's a lot of light there. And I've seen it. I see what you don't see this part. Okay. You don't see this. I feel how absolutely demoralized people are a lot of times when they start here with me. Okay. I see the lack of hope. I feel it. And I have seen that just start gradually over time, just build. So never underestimate that power of like that, even that tiny little candle, because you're that light. I mean, you bring that light everywhere. That is you. I mean, if there's one thing I can convey, I mean, this is why Valentine's Day really is about love and light. And what is love and light? I mean, that is you. You bring the light. You bring the love. It just so happens that you haven't found, you don't have someone there reflecting back more of that light. You are actually with people who take that light away from you and take that love away from you. So you end up feeling completely loveless and lightless. You end up feeling dark and lost and without light, solely because you are giving so much of your light to someone else. It is coming, it's leaving you. Someone is taking that light and someone is taking that love. So it feels like you have less light and less love. And that is why it feels so dark. You bring that light. So really this thing where you think that it's all about finding the most impossible guy to please, the most impossible guy to love you, to get. And you think that it's going to take him to prove you're worthy, to elevate your status. No, it is in you. You have this light and this love that flows from you. And what happens is you're not looking for that guy means nothing. The harder to get a guy, the harder he is to get. That does not elevate you. That doesn't bring more light, more love, and more worthiness. What brings you more of that is you just finding ones who recognize that in you. That's it. You're just looking for ones capable of reflecting that light back to you, of who are capable of not taking that light and just hiding it, under the bushel, for that, the song from the back one. But anyway, that's my point. Yeah, there's something about the light and the love, and and that is especially why I want to acknowledge too. I mean, Valentine's Day feels like such a loss, right? It's such an exciting day for love and light. And when you don't have anyone and you feel, loveless and lightless, I mean, think about it, right? Valentine's Day is going to be a hard one when everyone is like, talking about so much love and so much light, and you're just like, well, I'm here. Why is no one, taking me? Why is no one accepting me in my life. Why is there no one here for me? That's why. I mean, it makes sense. Okay. All right. So now, Audrey is feeling, hey, Audrey's feeling sad. Of course, this is the sadness that I hope it's helping talking about all this. It makes sense, right? I mean, yeah, this is why we feel sad. A day that's supposed to be our day, love and light and shine. That's what you do. And just because, you're trying to make it work with someone who is the opposite of love and light, you're trying to bring that to them, it doesn't last. It can't last. You can only give so much before one of you is going to end it. One of you is going to see through this. So, yeah. So Audrey's looking back and thinking of the relationships that she's had in the past that all feel like failures. Yeah, absolutely. It feels that way, right? Each one of these men seemed to have good intentions, so much potential, right? And then boom, over and done with. I love that you're learning the art of loving yourself, though. She writes that she's learning about loving herself, especially on Valentine's Day, though. It's just another reminder that she's alone. So again, the aloneness. And I hope all this is helping by the time we got to you here. I hope that that's helping put it in perspective here. But, I wanted to share this because you've got an art for, there's a poetry here. There's beauty here. I have beautiful friends and a wonderful family, but I don't have anybody to love and love me and share my world with. Nobody special I can hold hands with and take a walk in the park or share my day with. I read this the first time, and this one had me with all the feels here because you're a poet here. I think there's a lot more where this came from, and I hope you're writing. I hope you write. I hope you write deep from your heart, because that can be so just beautiful and therapeutic, but also just beautiful to share that, to put those words out on paper. Do it with a special pen and paper or something like that. I guess it's just something that's missing in my life, and with each passing year, I wonder if I'll ever find my soulmate and partner. At the age of 58, it seems very unlikely. Valentine's Day is just another reminder I'm single. And then very kindly, she said she couldn't wait for tomorrow and all that you have to share. And your warm and kind, encouraging words are like golden honey to my soul. See, you are a poet. I love that. And thank you. Those are beautiful, beautiful words. I felt those words so beautifully. Golden honey, that's my goal. That's the love and light, golden honey. Thank you. And so, yeah, I mean, honestly, I think there's something really beautiful. I think you can touch a lot of souls with your writing and with your poetry and your words there, but that doesn't help how you're feeling. So what you're feeling is, alone and very alone, and a reminder of the failure. So I want to talk to this failures. Okay. These failures, they are not failures. Okay. And I know that I hate this because it's cliche, but it isn't, but you'll hear this and you'll think that. So I'm going to try and say it in a way that doesn't come across that way. The failures, right? They are learning experiences. You can't know. I go back to what I said earlier. You don't know where you need to go until you go by default where you thought you should go. So you go where you thought you should go, and you come out of that, and now you're going to go where you actually want to go. One becomes a choice. The other is just following along, doing what just comes natural. And natural is programming, natural is conditioning, natural is doing everything that we're supposed to do, which leads us, or that we were told to do, that serves someone else and not you. So there's so much unlearning here. Okay, so much unlearning. And that is what these relationships are. And for the person, last time we were on here, there was someone who was married a bunch of times and had a bunch of what they were called, they just felt the shame of just being divorced. And they stayed in a relationship just because they were so sick. I mean, they were just embarrassed and ashamed to have more bad relationship, more failures on their record. So they ended up staying in something that they shouldn't have stayed in either, just because they were tired of that. So, I mean, there are women who go through, and people in general, but who go through all kinds of the same types of failures, but they never actually get married because they don't want to take the plunge and get married, or they don't want to step into that part and get married and make it official so that they'll, the possibility of going through divorce, or the stigma that they might feel of divorce. Okay, so just because one person chooses marriage and the other person chooses to hide away, it can be the same thing, right? It can be the same, just two different sides of the same coin, where essentially, you're just, you choose to the level that you have an awareness of what it means to be in a healthy relationship. And if you don't know the red flags, I mean, it's so backwards. I understand this completely. The very things, because this is all I ever did too, the things that would cause a healthier version of myself, or my friends who were healthy, who actually did go on and get married and have the relationships and all that, a good 10 years before I ever did, and I looked at that and I was so jealous of them. And I was like, what is wrong with me that's not wrong with them? Well, they approach these things so matter-of-factly. I mean, if there was a guy who was behaving the way that my guys, that I was dating, that I was involved with treating, they would be out of there so fast. They were much healthier than I was. Well, I wasn't that way. And so, the reality is it takes a lot to get this, to learn about this. So when you put them in the category, when you think of this as failures, I don't want you to think of them as failures. I want you to think of them, these are all just ways that we figure out, and I'm going to stay away from learning experiences, because again, it's so overused and it doesn't, I don't want you to get that feeling of it. But there are so many ways of looking at all the things that have brought us here. Okay. The good, the bad, the ugly, everything that we have been through. Okay. All of that brings you here today to who you are now. So I don't want you looking back, and I don't want you to look too far ahead where you can't see it yet, and where it just starts to feel like, if you're in the same boat then you're only going to be that much older. So that doesn't help either. I want you to come back to today. Okay. And I want you to look at the fact that right now, today is a time for you to start fresh, to start over, and to just decide you're going to have a new perspective starting today. The past is the past. The past does not define you. The future hasn't happened yet, so you have no way of knowing whether or not the grim outlook you see for the future is going to happen, because I know plenty of people who will prove you wrong, and they can tell you their stories of how they had a similar thought, but they just had an openness to believing that things might be possible, but they weren't going to write anything off as being not possible. And they saw that happen. Okay. They saw things that surprised them happen, and they ended up, their vision, my vision for them, and what became their vision, they saw that actually happen. So I want you to look at this as today we start fresh, okay, together, and today is a new day, okay, and we are going to start looking at life, relationships, everything else from this point on. Okay. Everything has brought you to this point, but now we're starting fresh. So clean slate. Who do you want to be with? Who do you want to spend time with? Who of the current people in your life do you want? You take stock of where you're at. Who do you want to keep? Who needs to go? Who do you want? What areas do you want to do more in? And really, you've got words here. And the other person who said she was all words, any of you who like to write, would really write your feelings that are powerful, write them into words. And poetry is such a beautiful thing. Share your words with the world that way, even if right now it's just putting them on paper. But, take stock of where you are, and let's get outside of the box, thinking, because that's where, honestly, that is where the miracles start working. That is where things that you are trying to manifest start manifesting. And let me tell you one quick word about manifesting, because I think there's probably a lot of you in here who believe in it. I had a call with someone earlier today. We were talking, we have been talking about manifesting for a while. And what I have come to see is that there is a theme of fear around manifesting, that you have to do it the right way. You have to do it properly. You have to do this. And the reason why it isn't happening is because there's something somehow that you're doing wrong. And that can just put us in this whole tailspin and set us back, where we're blaming ourselves again. We're feeling like we're not good enough again. We're not able to, what's wrong with us? We can't figure this out. Someone else is manifesting it beautifully. What's wrong with us? So I want you to look at it as this all loves you. Okay. Whatever your version of God is loves you, the universe loves you. There is just love. I mean, there's no way that you can still have so much love to give after everything you've been through, and you're still getting back up and you still have love to give. if there was not something to this thing where there is love for you too, okay? And there is love in the universe, and there is a God of love, regardless of whatever hell, fire and brimstone messages you've got. There are messages there that are just wrong. And so love, bring it back to manifestation. There, within that, there is not fear, there is love for you. Okay. And just see how much better your manifesting goes when it's guided by love, when there are feelings of love and light that you bring to it, rather than this darker, I have to get it right, this punitive, authoritative thing, where I have to get this right. I have to do this, or I'm not going to get what I want. There's something, Okay. So anyway, that all said, start fresh, take stock of where you're at, think outside the box. If there are places that you have not tried, that you haven't done anything yet, you have no idea. There was a client of mine that I have been coaching for a long time. I have coached her through a really bad breakup. I've coached her to meet someone, and then tragically, she lost someone, a very tragic accident, just really sad. But anyway, so I have been trying to help her get back, and I have thrown out so many different suggestions, so many different things, and she herself stumbled onto something and just took it and ran with it and met someone else. And so this is kind of my point. Like, never say never, and don't shut yourself off with the way it always has been. Try to think entirely outside of the box into something different. And the way you sometimes get those creative juices flowing so that you can see something over there is by just doing one thing different. This goes back to the one thing, the little things. Try to do that, to try to just invigorate some kind of energy here in a different direction, or in a different mindset, in a different way of thinking, that will get you to the outside of the box, because it's hard to come up with something from nothing. So start moving. I have never seen so much happen. When you are moving, when you do things, I tell you, when I go, I love to travel. I absolutely love to travel. It's been a long time not traveling now. But when, I love to travel, and I will tell you, there is something incredible that happens when I am traveling. I find new coaching clients come in that are just like, I am so excited to meet, because they're just like the perfect, they're like my ideal, or they just, they've been through so much, and they just remind me so much of so many of my own struggles. And so but this all happens when I'm like in this higher vibration of moving, or just enjoying. Well, and I do move a lot, but I enjoy movement, motion, and this probably, this. But I will say this about this too, about movement and motion, because this is kind of interesting too. My dad was firmly a believer in believing in God to provide everything. My dad was a wait on God guy. My dad never took any action, to the frustration of his daughters and certainly his wife. He was so careful to only move if he was absolutely sure, to take any action if he was absolutely sure that God was in it. And what's so interesting? My dad never had this like exciting, amazing life that he could have had, because there was a side of him, I think, that always could have had that, from what I know of him when he was younger, in his younger days. But I will tell you this, my dad has always been taken care of. And my dad has been an inspiration to me, that God has always been looking out for him. And he has waited. He waits. And so he doesn't live large by any means at all. He lives a really quite humble life, very humble life. But I'll tell you, he's never wanted for anything. And I have seen, little miracles happen with him, and little things happen where, just little things, like in their old age, their place was sold, and they had to move. And it turned out that, the person who bought it, rented it, that continued renting it to them, because, being older, it would be hard for him to move. And I was concerned about that. And so they didn't have to move. There's little things like that where, like I said, this is not large stuff, but it's stuff that matters to him. And it's like he's got this relationship with God, because that's, what he believes so strongly. And I've seen it. So there's a whole thing where moving and motion, that's my thing, right? And so I find just the miracles there in moving and motion and energies and all this stuff, right? Because that's me. And I feel like we're met where we are. But for him, and for those of you who are more on the waiting side, I can't knock that. I can't tell you do exactly what I do on this one, because I've seen that, and I've seen that with others where, things happen if you need to just do it differently. There's so many different roads to the same place. So anyway, I wanted to throw that in there. And then Megan, I wanted to tell you, okay, so Megan wrote to me, shift gears over here again. I get all these. I actually love everything. If you knew the stuff that goes on in my coaching, the stuff that I just did an interview coaching with someone, and I gave her a question to ask at the end. I don't know if you're on here. You know who you are, but I just got an email back right before I came on here, because I told her I was thinking about her, because I was doing some interview coaching with her last week, because she has a big interview. I really want to help her for all kinds of reasons, but. Yeah, this woman, I love this woman. And she had, anyway, so she had an interview this morning. So I had sent her an email, just telling her I'd be thinking of her. I was going in that interview with her. And I just heard back from her. I had given her a question that I was just really feeling on our call. I didn't really prepare for it, because I get so much from a combination of everywhere I've been. I've been some crazy places and worked in some really, really crazy, very interesting places too. But so I had this feeling for a question for her to ask, because at the end they always ask what questions, do you have any questions? And so she asked a question of some of them, and I gave her an idea for that. And so she wrote back to me that she did, and it sounds like she nailed that part, and it went over really well, because it was unexpected. So we'll see what happens with her. But anyway, I have such the extremes where I swing from one call where we're talking about one thing, and then we're going over to another. And what often happens is, when you go through something with a guy, the guy is what wakes you up. Love is what wakes you up, because love is just such a need. And it's been the place where we have been so taught to find our worthiness in love, find our worthiness in who we marry, the status we achieve when we're a couple. And we've so been taught that when that door just gets blown off, and we are just woken up with the fact that nothing about our relationships turned out the way it was supposed to. That is like our supreme wake-up call, and it just connects to everything else. And we wake up in every other way, because they're all connected. We start here, and everything that we thought was supposed to be isn't. And then it snowballs, and it opens the door for all these other areas for us to open up and see things in. So anyway, so I'm laughing at how we go from one thing to another, because this is like my daily life of where we go from the one topic or to something else. And it's all good. It's all in there, because they're all interconnected. All of this is about different paths leading to different places. And those places just, we find out all these other places where we've never ventured yet. And we go there and we find out what that's like next. So okay, so Megan wrote to me. Happy Valentine's Day, Megan. I remember talking to you and meeting you. So Megan wrote to me that she had a coaching session with me earlier this year. I do remember that. I'm looking forward to speaking to you again. I've taken your advice, and I'm looking for middle of the road guys in attractiveness. As we spoke, that my pattern was attracting guys I'm not attracted to in the beginning, and in time allowing them to win me over. I then fell hard. How familiar is this, right? For all. Yeah. And then I fall hard. They begin withdrawing and going hot and cold, treating me like crap. But by that time, I'm so far invested, it's so hard to get out. I'm in Australia, so Valentine's Day is today and tonight. For the very first time in a very long time, I've been asked out for dinner. I love that. I've deliberately said yes to this guy. He's not at all my usual type, but very gentle and kind, which is what I'm looking for now. I'm trying to focus more on the qualities of what I desire. We've only been out on one date before, and our values appear to be the same. And I laughed the whole time with him. Laughter is good. If you can laugh with a guy, I'll tell you, my husband is the funniest guy. I mean, funny in terms of he just knows how to, I can't even describe it. Anyway, I am not that funny. I've got this weird sense of humor. It's not even a weird sense. I'm just not. I try sometimes, and sometimes that's funny because I'm trying. But the way that he's just naturally just funny. He's just funny. And he's brought a lot of funniness to situations, and lightness to situations that aren't. So anyway, funny is so good. That quality, there have been more women who have found a guy going by funny and humorous and just light, and just able to, just a sense of humor. Sense of humor should needs to be right up there. Okay, you do need to be attracted to him too, but sense of humor is So, and I just want to interrupt this programming to tell you that, laughing the whole time is a good thing. It's a huge thing. So, and he certainly at times to me was nice looking. Okay, so here's the caveat, right? Here's the thing. Here's the but other times there even was, you put it in there, Megan. But other times throughout the date, I wasn't that attracted to him. He is tall and very slim. As opposed to the usual masculine, rugged, well-built guys I'm usually attracted to. Okay. When you are trying to change a pattern of attracting within yourself, how do you build the attraction towards someone who's not your usual type based on their character opposed to their looks? I know this isn't being alone on Valentine's Day. I've had many Valentine's Days alone, so this is a whole new ballgame for me. Okay. Megan, I am so excited for you that you're out with this guy. I was going to say tonight, but that was yesterday. So you'll get this. It's not the middle of the night, so that's good. So you might be on, or you might catch the replay. Anyway, so what I want to say to you is, this is where I have talked about this. The middle ground is where the majority of women find their man, not in these extremes. Okay. Not the extreme nice guy who there's no attraction with, not the extreme, guy, macho guy, who there's over the top chemistry with, but nothing else, and there's no character there. And you have to worry how many other women are he with, is he with? So that middle ground. Okay. So really, it's taking it slow. I answered this on one letter similarly because I get this a lot. I really get this a lot. And I will tell you, the women who write in to tell me that they are, no longer single, they're engaged, they're married, they're getting married. The ones who do that, I will tell you, 90% of them, 95% of them tell me it's because they gave someone a second look who they didn't give that second look before. They wouldn't have done it before. And most of that comes through talking it through the coaching, where we talk about it all and we get it all out so that they know clearly what it is they're looking for. So that is the very first thing. Trying to change this pattern. So first of all, accept this, right? And also, I want you to see that we're not here to make you like a guy who you're not going to like. We're not here to make you like a guy or convince you or give you some, formula to try to get you to be attracted to a guy you're not attracted to. I want you to recognize that you are going to be so much more attracted, over the top, have that chemistry with a guy who is this typical, guy goes by the playbook. I mean, the player types, the guy who literally is out to show you that he can get you. I mean, that he is out to prove to himself and the world that he can get any woman he wants. He's the guy. He is going to make you feel so excited to be with him. You're going to read so much into that. You're going to think he's the one. You're going to think he's just incredible. You're going to be so attracted over the top to him. So first of all, I want to get that out there, that I want you to acknowledge that that's the kind of guy who is going to excite you. And he's going to be the guy who's going to make you feel like there's real potential. You're going to try to convince yourself of that. So let's get all that out of there and just acknowledge that and talk about it, because that's the reality. And then let's come back to and clarify for you. Do you want that in the long term? Do you want that doubt? Do you want that intense chemistry followed by the doubt that you never really know, is he yours? Do you want to have to feel like you have to catch him, get him, do something, to try to get him? I mean, and if you do, if you love that thrill, okay, if you love the thrill of knowing that you can get that guy, then I mean, sign up for that, because I think it's so much better to not fight yourself, to go all in on where you're at and what the reality is of where you are, than it is for you to spend so much time and energy trying to convince yourself you can like a guy who you're not there yet. You're not there yet. You haven't seen enough of these other types to get clear. Not so that you give up on yourself or you think, I'm never going to be able to get a guy like that. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. So I'm going to have to settle for the nicer guy. I'm going to have to settle for the character guy. I don't want you to do it that way. That way never, ever, ever works. Or rarely, but in my books, like never. So what does work? What does work is deciding how long you're going to need to chase after the other kind of guy before you're done with it, and before you're done with putting that type, putting all the emphasis and putting all that clarity into, I need this guy. It looks like him. It has to be like him, to where you can come back to a conversation where, okay, I think I've got it. I know what I need. I know what it looks like. I know that with clarity. There was a woman. Okay, so I want to talk about this real quick, because this also is my answer to, I actually came up with this as I read through your email when I first got it. So I was just out, I'm coaching this woman. I went actually for a walk with her the other day. And she was telling me, because I was trying to come up with like ways to help her meet someone, because she's wanting to meet someone, go through the courtship and all that, and so I was talking to her about all this, and I got really excited for her, and I was talking about like all different ways to meet men and different online ways and all these things like that. And anyway, what it came down to is, what I said to her was, well, what she surprised me. She told me there was a guy already. She has a son, and she told me that her son loves this guy. And she was telling me that the reason why she is not motivated, this is for all you single moms out there, okay? She told me the number one reason she was not motivated to date, she just feels like at the end of the day, when it's time to go on the app and it's time to go check out and see who might be on or who might be interesting or whatever, she said it just feels like so much work trying to, figure out what to do with my son, so she needs to arrange like, a babysitter or what, just to figure that out. And then there's the whole thing of, like at some point, she doesn't want to bring anyone to introduce him. She doesn't want to, there's a question of when and how soon to introduce her son, and then them getting along, because it's more than just her getting along with him or liking this guy or being attracted to a guy, but he also has to like her son. Anyway, there are all these different things. And she said, this is why I don't go online, because it is so complicated. And I just am exhausted just thinking about it. So I don't do it. I don't do anything. I don't go online. I don't try the dating apps. And so she was excited. I was excited for her, but she wasn't feeling any of that excitement. And then she proceeds to tell me about this guy who's like a mutual, or he's a friend of a friend. And I guess someone introduced him or anyway, but he's a friend of a friend, and she's kind of known him for a while now. But she has felt like she's not ready for more. She's not ready for like a future with him. So what's hung her up with not being more, with not getting to know him or not being more into him, has been because she has been feeling like she owes him something and she doesn't want to lead him on. So I thought right away, I want to share this one real quick, because how many of you have felt that, right? I mean, it's like the logistical nightmare of just the logistics, or even just the reality of having to set stuff up in the first place, right? And figure out schedules and figure out times to meet and figure out all this stuff. And then there is the issue of what to do, with how to, if you're not right into it, if you're not totally into it with him and you're not really that sure about him, and he's like nice and he's nice looking, but he's not like, major chemistry, then she's feeling bad that she's going to lead him on. Right. So that we came down to the crux of that after like 2 hours. We were like, that's what it is. It is leading him on. She's concerned about leading him on. So what I said to her was, what if you say, so what if you, because she's like, I've basically answered myself. I've eliminated the problem because her son loves this guy. He's actually wanted to come over and play like some video games with their son and just hang out for dinner. And so literally she realized she had a reason. She was having a couch delivered, and she could casually say to him, hey, do you want to come over and see my, do you want to come out, try out the couch and have dinner. I'll make dinner. She loves making dinner, and you can hang out with my son, play some video games with my son. Maybe we can watch a movie. And anyway, so what was holding her back from having like this nice evening with someone where it would just be fun, just as easy, because her son already knows him and all the logistics her son and him have already figured out. This one objection the one issue she had. And so literally it came down to her not feeling like she was leading him on because she didn't know what the future held. And he was a really nice guy. And he's like a mutual friend of a friend. So she was feeling all of these indecisive things, right? And all of this, which can hang us up. And what she came to was, well, what I told her, I said, well, what about this? I said, what about, and I gave her 3 words, and she literally stopped and typed them in her phone. And she's like, those are the 3 words. That's what I needed. Those 3 words literally changed everything for her. And you know what those 3 words were? Let me think about them now, because I've told you the whole story. I gotta think. So the 3 words were to say to him. Okay. And so this is what I'm going to say in this long roundabout way. Thanks for bearing with me, Megan. For you to say too. Okay. Keep these words in your back pocket. I'm not there yet. Those are 4 words. Okay. Math was never my strong suit. Words were my thing. I am not the math person. So obviously not. So your 4 words are, I'm not there yet. I got a like because someone, let me guess, is someone else not into math? Did I just resonate with one of you who also is not a math person? Because yes, math is not my thing at all. Little did I know it was my old Mr. Potternack who taught me the same thing over and over, the same way over and over. If I had only learned math differently, like my husband is math guru. He loves math as much as I love words. He loves math. And I he used to tutor my nephews. And then, with my kids, he does everything math with them. If I knew that there was another way to learn math other than old Mr. Potternack's way of explaining it to me at my desk, feeling all embarrassed and ashamed, and all he did was explain it the exact same way he did on the chalkboard at my desk. But this time I felt even worse because I had raised my hand and asked for help. And that was a big step. And now I was just more embarrassed because I still didn't get it anymore. But if I had known there was another way of learning math other than in Mr. Potternack's class, and unfortunately I had him grades 8 right through 10. Anyone who went to George Perks Secondary, or I think they renamed it Terry Fox. But in Port Coquitlam, and you had Mr. Potternack. Email me or let me know, because then I'll know it wasn't just me. But boy, that was an hour of shame for 3 years in that math class every day, because it wasn't an odd day off, even day. It was every single day we had to learn that math, grades 8 through 10. If I had known there was another way to learn, like the way my husband makes it come to life for my nephews and my kids, I would have. So anyway, 4 words. I'm not there yet. Because I was telling her, no one's going to touch there. Okay. If he's not going to know what there is ambiguous. It buys you time. That's all you need. You just need a little time to enjoy yourself. So all you say, keep this in your back pocket, Megan, and anyone else in your back pocket. I'm not there yet. Okay. That's it. Because you can get to know someone. You can enjoy their company. I would so much rather you cut someone off completely who's coming on strong, who you feel this intense chemistry with. He's the guy that I would rather you cut out completely and jump the gun with ending things with him. It's the ones who there's even a possibility, if you could say, If you could say he was nice looking, if you could say he's kind of cute, you can say he's kind of attractive, go for another date, please. Because the ones I hear from literally are the ones who gave a second chance to someone who was not their type in the beginning, but who they, came to see all the qualities, and eventually that he's kind of nice, he's nice looking, or he's kind of cute, or he's kind of attractive. They just bought time to get to know him better. And it was usually because I had talked to them so much about this, and I had shared with them the stories of other women who got there, even if they couldn't see it for themselves right then. They started to see it. It made a difference. That's what I want for you. So as much as you can do this, I want you to do this. I want you to try and stretch a little more, because don't forget, there are a bunch on here. I mean, I went through this. I hear from other women like this, and I've talked about this today. Those of you who have said that the guys that you are meeting, who you end up head over heels, or the one, not head over heels, it's really the chemistry, right? The ones who have so much, you have so much chemistry with these types of men. Those men are the men who you started out not even knowing basically who they were, like not being attracted to them in the least. It was because they poured on the charm. It was because they gave you everything they had in those first few months or even weeks. They are the ones who you eventually can't get over. So if you can go from not being attracted to them in the beginning, and all of a sudden you're so attracted to them, all because it was a buildup of all of them, trying to win you over, and you became their conquest, and they poured everything into it, and they poured on the charm. Then if you can do it for them, you can do it for the other ones who you're just identifying as nice looking, because you're in the same boat. So remind yourself that. Look at how you got there with these other guys. Look at how you gave them a chance. Because I would so much rather you don't give them a chance, and you end up with a good guy, giving them a chance. I mean, the guy that I talked to, there's some of you who might see the replay on here, if you're on here, who are in Ontario. There's, but when I spent 3 years, so these 3 years that were just, I was with the wrong guy. The one where my girlfriend flew from Vancouver to Toronto to try to convince me to get out, because she could see what was happening to me and how I was losing myself, and I couldn't. And I was just so with this guy, and he was in Hamilton, Ontario. I was in Mississauga at the time. I stayed there for him. I went out for a job transfer. I was there for 3 months, and the job went away. The company went bankrupt after they transferred a bunch of us from Richmond, BC, just outside of Vancouver, where the airport is. Geography, and so they and the whole company just went bankrupt in literally, I think it was like 3.5 months. And you know what? That my relationship. This is how I really learned about my first insight into this 3 to 4 month thing, because literally in the time that this company went completely bankrupt in that time, this same thing happened. My relationship went like that. Like this guy who started out, there was a oh my goodness, it was a U2 conference, or U2 concert. And this guy who I showed up, right? I'm the new girl from Vancouver. And so he's there, he's in sales, and he's just, he's salesy, right? I'm not even interested in him. I don't even remember meeting him. I did a thing where I went over there and did a walkthrough. I flew out before I accepted the offer to see if I would actually, I'd never been to Toronto, so I had to see if I wanted to work there and live there. So I flew out, and apparently he had introduced himself to me. I never even remembered it. Like, that is how little amount of an impact he made on me, and a little of an impression, and how little I was attracted to him, right? I didn't even know that I had met him the first time, like a month or two before I moved out there. And so this guy, he decides, unbeknownst to me at the time, but he decides, the new girl, I'm going to be his conquest. And so he ends up, he invites me to a U2 concert. Well, I mean, I would have jumped at the chance to go to U2, right? I mean, but with him, I actually did not even respond to him. He told me a text. I didn't even respond to him until I think it was a few days before, which but I think I was moving, I was getting settled in and everything. But what's so interesting about this, right, is I didn't even use him to go to a U2 concert, which would have been bad enough. But, I didn't even, there was nothing about this guy that was at all attractive to me. Like, there was no chemistry. There was so nothing. And yet he was the guy who, I think, because I turned him down for that, and I literally came up with something so lame. I mean, and I think that for him, it was just such a major, like, ego thing that he pulled out all the stops. He pulled out all the charm. I mean, he was just out to I was his conquest. And again, I didn't know that. I didn't know what was happening. So very, very slowly, exactly what happened to you, Megan, and others, I eventually ended up falling for the guy so head over heels. There was no way out. And this is the one, literally, in the time that company unfortunately went bankrupt, our relationship was just, he had changed. He got me. It was it was right after that, because I remember him telling someone that he was so afraid, because they told me, I think he told his boss that the sales manager, I think told me that he was so worried. He was scared I was going to move back to Vancouver. He was scared I was going to leave. So that tells me at 3.5 months, he was still good. But right after I made the decision to stay, and I was no longer staying for the job, I was now staying for a guy. And he was that guy. And as soon as that pressure went to him, so I'm now there for him. I would get another job, and I did. But, it was all the pressure thing that everything changed. And now it was about him. And the pressure was on. He changed. And I spent the next 2 years and 7, 8, 9 months. It was right before Christmas, 3 years later. And he's the guy. You can read about him in my I Can't Make You Love Me post. I mean, that's what inspired that. I Can't Make You Love Me. I've never heard a song that came on. I forget. Anyway, the I Can't Make You Love, because that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to get him back. So I spent the rest over 2.5 years trying to get him back to who he was in the beginning. And here was a guy, literally, I didn't even go to a U2 concert with him. That is how little I was attracted to him. Okay. And here's a guy who the chemistry ends up being through the roof. Why? Well, because he knew how to get me. He knew what to do. He knew how to withhold. And it was a pattern. And there's new email coaching client. If you're on here, this is exactly what I wrote to you about yesterday, because this is the pattern where they get you because they withhold, or they make you feel bad, or they make you feel like you're not special for them. And they have this thing where they can take or leave you. You get sucked into that, because now you got to get them back, because literally they can have all their friends. Like in the case, you said you were at a happy hour and his friends were all saying how, you look like a model, like you're gorgeous. You look like 20 years younger than you actually are, and what is he saying? He's saying something like, he's saying, no, don't tell her that, she doesn't mean that. Like basically the exact opposite of what he's saying. And this is the thing. They cut you down, and they make it so that you need them to build you back up. And that's the pattern. That is how they get you. They get you exactly like that. My dog is walking around, so if all my lighting goes, he's okay. He's seated. He was sleeping the whole time and he just woke up. So I left him. Literally, that is how they get you. It is because it serves as a way to alleviate their pain, a way to allow them to feel good about themselves. Because see, this is how, so this is exactly the same type of thing. They get you because you come to need them. If they can, they know how to take it away. And so they're the only ones that you can get it back from. Your worth, your feeling of being okay, your prettiness. And this is why you go seeking it. And you can go, I've been there, right? While you're with this guy, you go out to a happy hour, you go out somewhere and you need that. You need some recognition that you're still beautiful, that you're still pretty, that you're still something, because you've got this guy who has succeeded in bringing you down and making you feel, it's a spiral, and making you feel worse and worse and worse about yourself. And that's what goes on here. And I have experienced that firsthand. This is the whole reason. It was that relationship that prompted me to become your biggest cheerleader. I never intended to be a coach. And so what I intended to do was just to help save you, to spare you from relationships like this. And then they called it coaching, and women asked me to coach, and this is how I got here. But literally, it was this experience made such an impact on me. It got me, so I switched. I started studying psychology. I switched from a whole business, public relations, all that, and I wanted to know how it could happen to me, that I could go from this extreme. I was confident. I was all these things, right? Because you tell me this. I used to be here, Jane. I used to be here, and now I feel so low. I feel so low, and I feel worthless, and I feel like I'm never going to be anything anymore. And I'm not. And you just, this is why. And it's because I experienced this firsthand, to the depths of this, where I didn't even remember meeting the guy. I turned down a YouTube concert with this guy because I was so not into him. And he literally took me to a place where I was so into him and so desperate for him that I literally would do anything it took to get him back to the way things used to be. And I did. I mean, I stayed with him for that whole time. I put up with so much. And like I said, it's in my post, I Can't Make You Love Me. But it was literally the things I put up with, and the way that I went lower and lower and lower until my self-esteem and everything, until literally, it was one day before Christmas, and I spoke up and I said, you treat me so horribly, and I am here for you. I'm living here in Toronto for you. All my family, my friends are back home. And he literally said to me, well, don't stay then here for me. Then leave. If you're not happy, leave. And there was no question of my feelings. There was no question of, throwing away almost 3 years at that point. It was literally leave. And I said, and then it turned into, where I said, okay, well, fine, if you don't want me here. And they said, if you're not happy, leave. If, I'm not going to be that for you. I'm not. And that next morning, I had a sleepless night, and I felt like in the morning, I just wanted to undo it. And I woke up and I told him, I'm so sorry. I'm apologizing to him, saying, I'm so sorry. I never meant to do that. I never meant to say, I should have said it. It was in the heat of the moment. I was just feeling like you didn't care, like you don't love me, like I'm putting all this effort in, you're not doing anything. And he there was no one doing it. There was no one doing it. This guy paid to ship all my stuff back. He bought out the rest of my lease on my condo. He bought me at that point, I left the next morning. It was literally, I think, the next day he bought me a, full price back then. If you bought it the same day or the next day, it was like full price ticket. He paid for that, paid to ship my car back, bought all my furnishings, gave me a lump sum to, or I could already move them back. I just left it. I didn't want any reminder. It was just, I had no idea where I was. But anyway, I came back. And what ended up happening was I went and saw a therapist, a counselor. And because I was such a shell of myself I literally walked off that plane, and I was just like, I did not know which end was up. I didn't know where, I hadn't been there I'd been there to visit, but I was always with him. I'd always had an identity with him, and I was so lost. And literally the counselor, I went to the therapist, that just told me, you don't need therapy. You don't need anything deep. You don't need, all you need is a cheerleader. All you need is someone who sees you. All you need is someone who sees your light, who has the capacity to see you and can just remind you every single day of who you are. And so that is what I am doing here. Okay. That's literally it, because that got me thinking, because he was right. This guy, I had just stumbled onto, thankfully, and I don't believe there's any coincidences. So thankfully I'd stumbled onto a person. It was really more like a coach. I don't even know how I found him. I don't even know how. I do not remember. In fact, I went to look him up to tell him what I'm doing, to basically tell him, hey, you inspired me, because you told me, really what I needed. You saw me, and you were able to see me in a way that I hadn't been seen, and recognize what was going on and what I needed. And I took his advice to heart, and I found someone to be my cheerleader. And every day I had that person remind me of who I was, and what I had to offer, and all that I still had even though I no longer had this guy anymore. And that's what did it for me. And that is what I am here to do for you. And that's the back long story. Megan and anyone else, I think I answered all that from there. So anyway, that is that's our Valentine's Day session. I'm going to wrap it up here. I think I addressed on the chat the thing about money, or the guy who's looking, for that, who wants you to pay for yourself. I mean, a lot of this stuff is just learning what you can live with. Clarity. I will tell you this, clarity is everything. Because when I look at how I went down that slippery slope to absolutely losing myself, and I hear that story, there is no story of mine, no experience of mine that has been matched to match what resonates with you and your story like that. There are so many of you that I've connected with who share that story, where it's a guy. I can almost see it coming, because it's such a thing where it's a guy who you never gave really a second thought to. You might have even turned him down. You might not remember meeting him. And then you go from there, literally, to just being in a place where you cannot get over him. And you all you're trying to do is get him back. That's it. And I realize, so until you go through that and you reach a point where you understand the dynamic that has happened here, and this is why it's happened. Until you understand that, you can't gain clarity on what it is that you're actually looking for until you can see what happened with that pattern in the first place that led to that. But we don't stay there long, because that's the thing. We bring it, you're here in the here and now. Today is a new day. I go back to that. And from a place of today, I actually, the new year is great for starting over, but there is something about recognizing that love and light of Valentine's Day is actually, that comes from you, and so let's start tomorrow with recognizing the clarity that light comes from you, and what you're actually looking for is someone capable of seeing that light in you and actually capable of treating you the way that someone would treat someone who is light and love, and someone who can actually see you and appreciate you and love you for you, and not someone who requires you to be someone who you're not someone who requires you to keep groveling and being on the begging end and losing your power and having to play small and having to be small in order to allow their ego and their needs to be the most important thing, so that you become the giver, and the giver because it comes natural to you, all because you are trying to just get back up to the level that you would be at if you were with someone who could see you in the first place. I hope that makes sense. All right. Thanks, everyone, for being here. I send you so much love from my heart to yours. I see you, and I'm so glad that you came to enjoy this one with me. If I missed you, if you had more to say, please, send me an email. I'll be doing another live at some point. Thank you for being here, for everyone going through this. I see you. And Lolly, I just want to say hi to you in South Africa when you get this. Thank you. I hope you got what you were looking for too out of all this here. So, and all the rest of you, thank you for being here so much. If I haven't mentioned you by name, I mention you by heart. Okay, I see you. All right. Much love to all of you. And I will see you back here soon. There will be a replay of this. I'll send it out, and it'll be on YouTube. And so if there's anything you want to go back over, anything you want to listen to, or if you want to hear your answer, feel free to do that. I'll be sending it out to you. But anyway, I hope you have a great rest of your day or your night, wherever in the world you happen to be. This is an absolute honor that you come and listen and are able to be touched by what I say, and to come here for the feels and to be seen. It means the world to me, and I'm absolutely honored that you allow me to be here with you like this. All right, take care, and I'll see you again soon. Okay.